welcome to the latest episode of Lost Lieutenant. I'm your host, Nick, and this evening I am joined by fellow hosts.
Kevin.
And Val.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Woo! Fucking
Very
knackered,
well.
actually.
So we had a few technical difficulties, so we're starting off a little bit later. So we do apologise to our patrons who have joined us in the live session. For those of you joining us on YouTube, you'll see a beautiful JPEG of Val's face in the middle of the screen because Val can't spend more than $40 per month on his internet. So if any type of video content tries to come out of there, it's struggle street. So we've just got Val on audio, but that's okay. We'll get by.
I'd like to just correct you there, Nick. The streaming services that I view were
Oh wait, can you guys hear me?
Oh dear.
We just lost Nick.
Oh no.
Yes,
Oh, okay, it's okay. I'm
told
back.
you
I'm
that
back.
his
Just
internet
bear with me for a second. Just as I'm bagging out.
My internet. What happened? Did you just press the wrong button? Or?
No, it just I don't know what happened. It just decided
I
to
dropped out.
disconnect and then reconnect. Bear with
there
me
you
for
go.
a second while I just fix up the video then on OBS.
For the record.
Because right now on OBS, all that's being recorded is that JPEG of Val.
Oh, there you go.
Imagine that. They just watched that the whole time. That'd be hilarious.
To be fair though, $40 a month is a lot of money outside of Australia for internet. But you know, this is what the NBN provides. This is
The NBN giveth. We have to take it.
Let's take it. $4, is that your cheapest? All right, okay. I guess I'll go for that.
No. It is.
Okay, we're back. I'll pop the window out. Sorry about this. And I need to disable non-video participants.
Yep. And then this is providing that the Australian energy regulator don't just like give us a brownout later on tonight while we're recording. That'll be fun.
Oh,
fuck. Lose
Oh.
all of our recording. But hopefully not. So thanks so much, listeners, for coming on the show. And we're back.
I wonder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. We're back. Sorry about that. So for those
Start.
listening to the audio component, they didn't get to enjoy any of that amazing tomfoolery that's just taken place. But we'll get there. So tonight's episode is going to be all about the recent 2-day tournament that was held up in Maitland, New South Wales, Novacore. Previous episode we talked about all the missions and what we were looking at with list building and that sort of thing. And since then, we get to see how we actually fared on the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good chat. A lot to get through.
Yeah, there's a lot of memories over the weekend to kind of discuss and just summarize, I guess.
Yeah, so we're not gonna jump into talk about recent games because the recent games that we're going to be talking about are the entirety of the episode. Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these 5 games we played over the weekend. But did you want to just do a quick couple shout outs here, Kev?
Yeah. So we're halfway through June. But 2 weeks ago, we did announce the winners of our May challenge, which was actually the April challenge as well, because we didn't have enough entrants. So congratulations to James Bradshaw and Robert Skeet, who are the winners of a blister of their choice. James wrote a very good analysis of Sval for the Fire Team Challenge, and Robert wrote a more general his thoughts on the Fire Team changes. So thanks very much to those two for writing in, and to all of our other entrants. We think we had 15 in the end, so that was pretty good. That was actually excellent. And the challenge for this month, which is the June challenge, is called Tag You're It. So we've been talking about doing this challenge for a little while, but we keep going, we'll hold off, and then it seemed like a perfect time to do it in the lead up to Novacore, or just, I guess, people talking about tags all the time. So this challenge for June is going to be play with tags. Run a list with tags, multiple tags, one tag, and let us know how it goes. Let us know if you run tags normally, what's your tactics for using them. If you don't run tags normally, how did you find playing a tag? But also this challenge extends to playing against tags as well. So basically, it's all things tags. We want your thoughts on them. on them in the current meta and the current season, and whether or not you just think they deserve a whack with a Nerf bat. Because there are some people out there who believe that quite strongly. And I'm sure we'll talk about tags as well as we go through this episode. But as always, write it in to us at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. Please put it in a Google Doc if you can. It just makes it so much easier for me to do the collating at the end of the month rather than having to copy and paste your entire bump from the body of an email. And I believe Val, you wanted to do a bit of a shout out as well in relation to that event.
Yeah, that's right. So our monthly event in Geelong is running in conjunction with this challenge. We're encouraging tags, and we've chosen a pretty killy lineup of missions. We've even included Deadly Dance from the ITS 10 mission lineup to really,
Yikes.
to really encourage it. So
what's
I would
Deadly
love
Dance again? Can you remind our listeners that mission?
Yeah, so Deadly Dance is a mission where it's like Supremacy, and at the start of the game, you the middle section of the table is divided into four sections, and then one of them is you roll a dice with your opponent, and one of them is worth more. It's like
so it randomly determines which quadrant
that's
is
right.
worth more
That's
points, and then don't you get more points if you've got a tag in it as well?
Yeah,
Is that right?
so that's right. So if you have a tag in the quadrant, you're getting more points. So it's like it encourages people to fight for that quadrant.
Yeah. All in
But
all,
there's still
it's a
consoles.
pretty rubbish mission, but it was one that we were not necessarily disappointed to see after ITSX kind of thing.
I didn't mind it. I didn't like it when
Yeah, and there's
they roll
consoles
the dice.
in the middle of the board to kind of encourage you to bring specialists. Yeah, that's right. And you can encourage you to bring specialists and hackers to kind of test for the consoles, but also encourage you to bring tags. So it's a pretty I don't know. It's a fun mission. We'll see what the all the new guys in Geelong think. I'd love to hear Taj's entry, because even though he can't run a tag, he can at least write in how much tags did him in for the whole day. So that'd be interesting to hear as well.
Taj plays TAC, right?
Yeah, he plays tag, so there's absolutely no chance of tag. So, he was very thrilled by the mission. Happy.
I can imagine.
But if anybody in Melbourne has recovered from Novacore and likely COVID at this point, please come on down, get down to Geelong. It'll be a good time as always.
And is it again? When's the event?
It is the last Sunday of this month, which bring up my calendar just sure. That is basically
26th of June.
26th. That's right.
Fun times.
Yeah,
and then our quarterly challenge. This is the final month for our Q3 challenge, which is all about signing up to our Patreon. Basically, give us money. So if you sign up to Patreon today to enter the draw for a box set of your choice from TSI, you will go into the draw you will get one ticket into the draw that will be drawn at the end of this month.
Correct.
Previous months, you basically get one ticket for every month that you've become a subscriber, but there's still time. And you can win a small box set.
And this is just a membership drive as part of that challenge, but you get a whole bunch of other great benefits as well. We've got our private Discord channel for patrons only, as well as they are able to sit on our live recordings, and we've got a little bit of an audience right now as well, which is amazing. So we always appreciate it when you guys jump in and for the support. And it's only $3 a month, so be less stingy, people. Let's do this.
Yeah. It helps us.
Future, it funds these prizes and could potentially go towards funding
non-fungible.
Yeah, non-fungible podcast. No, it could go towards funding better internet for Val, so we can get his video on the screen one day in the future.
It's that or OnlyFans at this point, guys. So please help me make the right choice.
Mate, if you want to run an OnlyFans, there's no way you're going to be able to do it with this rubbish internet.
Just build still images, like really, well lit still images.
Okay, you can borrow my ring light.
I've thought about this, Nick. I've thought about this more than I'd like to admit.
It's just like a big cock tease that you're at OnlyFans. It's just like a loading screen.
It just throwbacks to primary school, really.
Prime. Okay, less said about that, the better.
Let's not follow that rabbit.
I think before we started recording, he was talking about downloading Dragon Ball Z. So I think that's the thread
That's
he was
the
pulling
reference.
there. Yeah, okay,
Exactly right.
right.
That's the
Not that he
reference.
was selling his body in primary school. That
No,
would
no,
be
no.
wrong. That would be very wrong. Um,
Yeah.
so I think with that out of the way, do we have anything else we want to chat about before we jump straight into Novacore recap?
I don't think so. I think we can just get straight into it.
Do it.
Okay, right. Let's. Nick, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So just a quick recap on what this event was about. Novacore initially ran in 2019, hosted by Gav Bateman, who is a absolute Infinity Australia legend, and it had to be cancelled in 2020 for obvious reasons, and then 2021 Australia decided that we hadn't had enough of 2020, so we did it all over again and had to be cancelled again. So this is the second time that we've had Novacore in 2022. And yeah, the last event was probably about 100 people, but for us to this time there was 68 participants. It was capped at 80, and there was quite a few last minute drops, unfortunately. But still, 68 people. We had a crew of 14 come up from Melbourne, which I think is actually the biggest interstate crew we've brought to any event ever.
It was
Yeah, I
fucking
reckon so.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it was
we had
awesome.
Yeah.
absolutely amazing time. 5 missions. First 3 on day 1 were countermeasures, supplies, and supremacy, followed by rescue and comm center on day 2 as the event. But first off, we can talk about our little adventures on how we got from Melbourne to Maitland, because while people were saying that it's in Newcastle, the event is not in Newcastle. It's in a little country town that's probably 40 minutes outside of Newcastle, so not the easiest place in the world to get to. But we had all flights booked and organised and ready to go, and then at the last minute there was a urgent, I guess urgent is the only way you could really describe it. Urgent call for tables, because through a communication mix-up, Gav thought he had quite a few more tables than were actually coming. So something that Kev and I had discussed a couple of months ago, probably, given the table situation, we didn't know what it was at earlier. We'd kind of already discussed it, but we decided to pull the plug on, or pull the trigger rather, on actually driving to the event. So we hired a trailer, rounded up pretty much every table Melbourne has, all the best tables that Melbourne has to offer, and we brought a dozen tables with us. So Kev and I on Friday jumped in the car at 4 o'clock in the morning and trekked our way north for the following 10 hours, which was fun.
That was such the Thursday night gathering up of everything, of all the 12 tables and the trailer and everything after work. No, I don't think I got to bed till about 11 o'clock that night, and I had to get back up at bloody 3:30 to go pick your ass up at 4.
Fuck
and yeah,
that.
4:30, and yeah, it was
What a
funny.
mammoth effort.
Oh mate, it was. You know what? It wasn't the worst thing. It was a pretty fun drive, pretty easy drive, but
when we told Gav that we were going to do it, like the first thing that happened was he made the meme of the Two Towers meme of Gandalf and Aomer arriving at Helm's Deep at dawn on the 5th day with mine and Kev's faces in place, and so I think it was all worth it for that meme alone, personally.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was good to bring some very quality tables to Novacore and have Pete and Luke Peter and Luke Henry obviously have some amazing tables, and it was good to see them showed off. But yeah, well done you guys. That was a massive effort.
I think so. I think that was one of the driving factors. It wasn't like we think that, like, Melbourne's got the best tables and stuff like that. We're not like putting tickets on ourselves in that way. But it's always interesting in a big event like that where you're, 80 players, potentially 40 tables. There's not one area anywhere in Australia that can pull together 40 tables. So you end up potentially having tables that are kind of half full, or
Mm.
tables with lots of more cardboard terrain
Yeah.
or lower quality
And
terrain.
and
So it
like
was good
when
to.
we got there as well, there was the tables had already started to be set up, and we sort of partitioned off our space. But then, like one of the tables that had set up was just like the CB cardboard stuff, and I'm not talking about like the new thick cardboard stuff. This is like the
Yeah, the
old
old stuff.
paper
Mm-hmm.
cardboard. I'm like, well, we got all these tables. This table can be packed down because it will be replaced.
Yeah, it raised the standard for sure. Yeah, having the 14,
Yeah.
however many tables you guys brought, like what, 12, 10 or 12 or whatever.
12 it was.
Yeah,
Oh
raised the
yeah.
standard. Yeah,
We
raised the
didn't. We didn't.
standard
We
of.
didn't just. We didn't just drive 1,030 kilometer, 1,032 kilometers
Yeah,
to not set up at least most of our tables. Like
yeah,
as Nick said, there were some drops that happened like basically on the
yeah.
day or the day before. So we didn't end up needing all of our tables in the end, but it was good that we had them.
How
Better
do
to
you
have it than
reckon?
not need it.
How do you reckon? Because Gavin had to cap the event at 80 because it sold out pretty quick, and then people started dropping closer to the day, and then obviously trying to get people to attend last minute is always pretty hard because often they're interstate. How do you reckon
Yeah.
you can kind of solve that for a big event like that? How can you solve that problem? Because you should always expect some drops close to the day, but obviously you don't want to overbook either. So
I
I know
mean,
it's a
like, I
tricky
don't
one.
think you can solve for it, and particularly in this day and age where
COVID.
people don't want to, if they're a bit like previously, if someone had like a little bit of a sniffle or a cough or something, they'd
Mm,
just come along. But these days,
indeed.
people are a bit more wary than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't really surprise me that there was that number of
12
drops
drops. Yeah, 12 drops. Yeah,
on
unfortunately, yeah. So
last
I don't know.
minute.
I've got
But
an idea,
okay,
but
yeah, what's your
What's
idea,
your
well,
Val?
idea?
you overbook it, right? So listen, hear me out. You
Oh,
overbook it, right? And then if come the day there's too many people, the bottom players have to play Aristea and do like a community building thing, and they just play Aristea in the back room like that, right? And that way you encourage people to play Aristea, plays it on,
I
and
don't. I don't think we want to be like the airline
that's
of
right.
Infinity.
We have to start
Sorry, this
taking.
flight's full.
Yeah, this tournament's full. We have to start. We have to buy your tickets back off you with items from the prize pool.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. But no, I think it's
nah,
harder
as long as
because of the location. Although to be fair, I did meet a lot of players who were from Newcastle. It does seem like the Newcastle meta is, or the Newcastle Infinity players. There seem to be more of them than there are like anywhere else in New South Wales. But still, it's an issue, right? Because it's not like it's 40 minutes from Maitland. Sorry, it's 40 minutes from Newcastle. It's what, 2 hours from Sydney.
Yep.
So it's not like, if a Sydney player goes, oh yeah, cool, I can go Friday, but only finds out Friday afternoon, it's still like a 2 hour drive through traffic. Plus he has to find accommodation. It's not
yeah,
easy,
exactly.
whereas like Burn City Brawl, we might have a few people who maybe go, oh, I can't make it because of the kids, or I can't make it because of work, and then last minute says, gets the time off and goes, oh well, I can be there tomorrow because they're in the same city. It's a bit easier if you're hosting it in a capital city rather than hosting it in a smaller town.
Yeah, right. That's
I think
just a
that's
really
always been the issue.
long-winded way to shit on country towns, Kevin. But that's fine.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, no,
I agree. I agree somewhat in terms of like filling up numbers, but in terms of running an event like of that size in a country town like that, I thought it was great because it meant that pretty much every night we're all hanging out, right, together. Everyone went to the same pub.
affordable as well.
Yep. It's not too expensive. And you get to visit somewhere you've never been before as well.
No, it was
like how
yeah,
I
absolutely.
can guarantee of every single person that came from Melbourne, I was the only one who had ever been to Maitland.
Maitland, yeah, absolutely. No, it
And
was.
that's
It
because
was
I'm from up that way. So
exactly.
Yeah, and I
That
liked
was
the place. It was a lot more. It's definitely becoming gentrified. Well, not gentrified is the wrong word, but it's there's quite a few places there as far as pubs and restaurants and cafes and
the pizza place was
amenities.
amazing. Like the pizza place was
Yeah,
so good.
we can get into that, but yeah, that pizza place was one of the best pizzas I've ever had.
I
So
agree.
shout out
I
to,
agree. How
the
like
local
can you,
pizzeria.
who would have thought that on this Infinity outing weekend to Maitland, New South Wales, we would go to what is possibly some of the best pizza we've ever had in our lives. It's like the mind boggles.
But also some of the worst vegetarian schnitzels I've ever had. So it all evened out. It all evened out. But
The look on your face. I think it was your. Actually, I'm not sure if it was your face or Josh's face because
yeah,
he was also visual. He just
yeah.
kind of looked at it like like he was just gonna spit at it. He was like, "No, I don't want. I don't want this. Like, what the
That's
fuck is
fine.
this?
The
It's
beer
like a
was great.
giant. It's like a giant flat mushroom that's been breaded. It was terrible. Apparently.
Yes, but look, hits and misses. No, honestly, there was obviously no criticism from my end on the tournament. It was a fucking awesome time. Yeah, it just, but the having 12 players drop must have been like heartbreaking for Gav as well. And obviously, yeah, so the Transmission Matrix guys obviously had to drop, that meant we didn't have any of our grudge matches. But also there was a lot of missing faces. Like Lockie wasn't there. The WA guys weren't there. So heaps of people still kind of the heaps like Jackie wasn't there. There's like a lot of familiar faces that weren't there. So hopefully next time as well, because Gavin obviously suggested he's going to be running again. So
Yeah, and he's planning next year to make it even bigger, right? Looking
yeah,
at capping at
exactly.
100 again. So
Yeah, but on that, actually, it's a good. Well, maybe we can get into this maybe we should move on and go into day one, and then we can talk about the controversy.
sure, sure.
Like we can get straight into
Bring
the
it on.
controversy.
Right.
Let's do it.
So
Um,
so I guess it happened day 0, right? When you and I are in the car, Kev, about 6 a.m. I get a text message from none other than the boys over at Transmission Matrix. Not only did they fail to bring any tables down, but they did the ultimate smooth brain move of booking their airplane flights the wrong month to come to. They'd booked it in July instead of June, which meant that
well, we don't know if that's the case. We're just trying to think if that's the
that's what they
logical
said.
explanation.
That's what they told me. We
Okay.
booked the wrong we
Okay.
booked the wrong flights. So
Right, yes.
turns out they couldn't even make it at all. After they went to all the effort to make the t-shirts, we still wore the t-shirts on day 1, and we were representing.
Yeah,
The t-shirts were great.
The t-shirts were great. The effort
I
they
bought a
made was great.
poster. I was going to get it signed by everyone, but it never arrived because they never arrived.
Oh
So
no.
it but it was still so yeah, we had these matchups lined up round 1, fell through.
Well, we've won them.
Transmission Matrix versus Lost Lieutenant. You've got our winners by default. So
My two favorite words in the English language: default.
default. That's it.
Yeah, no, unfortunately we didn't get to play them. Obviously, yeah, it must suck for them, like not missing out on that.
I feel for those guys, like because they've been looking
absolutely,
forward to it as well, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
Andrew, one of the guys, got COVID, which really sucks, and then the other guys just booked the wrong flight, which
Yeah,
it happens, I guess.
it just sucks. Yeah, it sucks for everyone. Obviously, the more the merrier. That's always the way, right? The more the merrier.
That's it. Yeah, that's three people that didn't come, which is a shame.
Yeah,
Shame.
absolutely. So, but hey, always next year, and always Burn City Brawl. So yeah.
Yeah, we could try and reignite the grudge match for then if they can book the right flight this time.
They won't beat us on our home turf. There's no way. I'm sorry, but I am lining up the tables. If they attend, we'll line up the tables that favor our faction. I mean, sorry, can we edit that one out?
No, we can't. No, we
cannot. It's a live show, Val. There's no editing.
No, I've just given them an out. If they attend BCB.
Give them the densest of Melbourne tables.
Yeah. And just dog warriors.
Cool. So do we want to then just jump straight into round 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or is there anything else that happened in between those two?
Not really. Not.
Should we
really,
shout out? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, should we shout out all the people that attended? All the Melbourne guys that came up.
I was going to say, are you going to rattle off 70 names, Val?
Yeah. No. All the Melbourne guys that came up. So I stayed with yourself, Ben, and Kevin, obviously.
The three of us with Ben had an Airbnb.
Yes.
Which was nice, and then like 4 other guys had Airbnb, and the rest of them shacked up at the pub.
So. Yeah, it was. So, do you reckon it would have been? Do you reckon it would have helped the experience if we could have found something like 2 houses nearby each other and try centralize it, or do you think it worked well?
Maybe if ours was a little more central, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I think it was fine.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like
we all ended up going out for dinner and going to the pub together anyway. So
Yeah. I know it would just be nice to have like a party house, in my opinion. But plus the walk to our place is pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
okay.
Kevin got that.
We'll get to that on the evening of day one, where
Okay,
for
okay.
those of our listeners who listened to our BrizCon recap, and we talked about the evening with Valerie, you may hear some like some from at least some familiar stories tonight.
I know.
Yeah. They're not. It's not the same
Yeah.
story, but it definitely rhymes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we went to bed relatively early. I mean, at least Nick and I did, because we'd done an 11-hour drive, plus then set up like a bunch of tables. Then went out to dinner, had a few beers, and then yeah, we're just cooked.
Yeah, you guys, one man F. Really is. Wait, what were you guys listening to on the way on the drive? I know I'm just delaying the round one. I'm sure the listeners are like, fucking just get to it. But what were you guys listening to? Were you guys listening to Infinity Podcast on the way
No,
up?
we weren't listening to Infinity podcast. We listened to probably 2/3 worth of Stephen Fry's Troy, which
Oh
is like
shit!
his retelling of the Iliad, essentially.
Oh
Um,
wow!
and so we listened to
So
that
you're
on the
both picking up Steel Phalanx
Steel
when drop?
Phalanx. Yeah, well, it's nice to put a lot of context around what all those Greek names are, and how what the
Yeah.
parts they played in the Trojan War and everything. So
No, it definitely got me more interested in Steel Phalanx, and also rewatching Troy. Um,
did you end up
yeah.
watching it, Kev?
No. I'm halfway through watching Band of Brothers. I want to get through that
Oh
first
my
before I watch.
god! What a
Troy.
show!
I know, right?
Fuck.
Like my fifth watch through of the series is just like
Yeah,
every so often I'll just put it on and be like, I'm watching this.
the first 3 episodes are probably my favorite. Like when they're just forming the unit, like and they're becoming a band, and like
Oh yeah,
I fucking love that. Oh my god. Oh, it's just anyway, amazing.
it's all good. It's all killer. There's no filler.
That's it.
All right. So anyway, we went to bed. We got up in the morning. We went to Good Games Maitland. By the way, shout out to Good Games Maitland,
Ugh,
Jacob and the other guy who runs the store. I forget his name. Excellent hosts. Very very lovely, friendly guys. It's a massive store, by the way.
massive.
Huge store. I've never seen such a big store. Maybe outside of House of War, but this was like just one store as opposed to on different levels. So it was really
Mm.
really good. And yeah, it's a space, so that's good. So yeah, we rock up. We get ready for round one. Gav is doing all the announcing. He announces tables. There's a nice sort of thing where he puts it on Facebook where it tells you who your opponent is and what the table number is. So it's nice and easy. You don't have to listen out to the TO announcing it. You just know where it is, and he's conveniently numbered all the tables, which is always helpful. There's a clock on the wall as well, which tells you how much time you've got.
Yeah, I thought that was
Always
really
really good.
handy. The fact they had like a TV
So
screen up
handy.
on the wall
Yep.
that had the clock running on it, so you could just and it was huge, right? It was a massive TV.
Yeah.
So from wherever you were in the room, you could always just look up and see what the time is at.
Yeah.
So I thought
I
that
utilize
was
the
amazing.
shit out of that clock, Alex.
Me too. Yeah, it really
I'll
helped
go
me
into
make decisions.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, having that reference, and I'll go into how I use it like with my opponent. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But sorry, there was something else I mentioned. Oh yeah,
Challenge.
so I just want to quickly. I won't get time to talk about this game, but also I beat Ed Sykes on day 0. So fuck yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right.
Val, the mad lad, didn't think 5 games of Infinity was going to be enough, so he had one the night before.
Yeah. So some might say, some being Robert Cantrell saying, it's an easy win because it was Morats versus Spinal Core. But I'm sorry, but my smooth brain had to take on Ed Sykes, and I will take that win any day of the week. Thank you.
So you're saying because Spiral Core Morats are immune to the jammer thing?
Yeah, that's right. So
Right.
one of Spinal Core's strengths is obviously having jammers and being dangerous to isolating you and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And Morats ignore all that bullshit. So there you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I did want to mention each round, Gavin had a special challenge that he
Love
did
it.
for each one, which was really, really hard. So round one was going to be countermeasures, and Gav's challenge here. And by the way, if you got this challenge, you got like an army box. Like he has
Yeah.
shitloads of prizes
or
because
like
since
a mat or something, or like
yeah,
they
like
were
Prizes.
good prizes. But that's why they were so hard, was because he didn't want a heap of people winning them, right? So
Exactly. Yeah. So round one was countermeasures. The challenge was have one model complete 5 classified objectives. If you got that, then you got like something cool. Do we want to just go around the table and talk about our games briefly? Win, loss, draw, who we
yeah,
played, our armies
sure.
and stuff like that. Oh, actually,
Oh,
maybe
should we talk
we
about the
actually
armies we took to start
we should
with?
talk about the armies first. Yes, we haven't done that.
Yeah,
Let's do that first. Next,
cool.
you want to take it away?
Yeah, definitely. So, I was playing White Banner, which I have been playing for probably the past 18 months. This is the last event showing that White Banner will have, though. I'm shelving them after this and moving on to White Company, the other white meat. Finally, I'm moving on, but I'm really happy with both my lists and the way that they performed. So I had two. I had Sugar and Spice as list number one, and then the other list was Everything Nice. So Sugar and Spice and Everything
Mm.
Nice are my two lists.
Oh, you
Um,
named them. That's good. I think they're looking at giving out awards for best named list.
yeah,
So.
well, yeah, and I'll talk about what the names mean as well once I go through them. So, let me just I might as well just bring this up on the screen here, so I'll show the YouTube audience what my list looks like. So first up, I've got a blue wolf with
You want to put
a
that into the Discord chat as well, if you can?
yes. Let me just what I'll do is I'll
Sorry to
copy the
ask.
I know you're asking so much for me to do
I'm not
while
allowed
as
to
we
touch my
go.
computer, so I'm not
No, that's
doing
okay.
it.
That's okay. I'm putting the army code in the chat,
Okay.
so you guys can play along at home. Here's
So I'm
this is army number one, which is Sugar and Spice. So we've got Blue Wolf, who's in a duo with a Tian Gao killer hacker. Now that Tian
Mm.
Gao, because it's got cyber mask, no, not cyber mask, hollow mask, sorry, would hollow echo as uh, what's his name? Adil Mamut. In
Mm-hmm.
crane armor, so his heavy infantry. It's got the same 4/4 move, so it's an easy. It's hackable as well, so that's already open information. The fact that I've got a hacker that's secretly a hacker, but is already presenting as hackable, is great. And it's the idea there is that killer hacker is dragged up the table by the blue wolf and then just stage dives into the enemy hacker. Mech engineer with a power bot, two Shaolin monks and Liang Kai in that little Harris, so the Shaolin monks
Mm-hmm.
become regular. I've got a baggage bot, which is basically just there for the extra cheap order, as well as being able to reload the Panzerfausts on the Blue Wolf, as well as reload the Long Yar, which is the next along in the list. I've got Long Yar Mine Layer, and then just a Flash Pulse bot, and that's Group 1. So I've got 9 regular orders in Group 1. And then Group 2 has a 5-man link, which has got a Shang-Chi, APHMG, Tinbot, Firewall, Neg 6, and Tactical Awareness, Shang Jesus, as some call him, a Zanshi Hacker, Zanshi Paramedic, Zanshi Lieutenant, and then the Beast Hunter fire team option, who's got the Panzerfausts, and is also a Mind Layer. So that Beast Hunter fire team option is like I found I've gotten a lot of value out of as an absolute throwaway ARO piece because he's got a great loadout. Sure, he only gets to when he's in the getting the +1 burst, he only gets to shoot the Panzerfaust once, but if he gets it off, it can be absolutely devastating for your opponent. And then the final thing in that group is a Hundun with a heavy rocket launcher and X visor. So that's
Mm.
Sugar and Spice. The Blue Wolf and Tiangao is the sugar, and the 5-man link is the spice.
What were these lists? What was it? What was this list designed to do out of the
So
5
I
missions?
designed this one to do countermeasures and comm center were the two that I had planned to use this list for, and it could do rescue if I wanted, depending on what the table looked like.
Okay.
The idea being that I haven't pushed too heavily into forward deployment. There's no infiltrators in this list. There's a couple of things that do deploy outside the deployment zone, but not a huge amount. Because so many of the missions had those exclusion zones, I didn't want to be hamstrung by that.
Yeah. And I do like the fact that that's a Beast Hunter, that's a BS12 Mimetism Panzerfaust for 9 points.
Exactly. So cheap, and he gets those fire team bonuses. It's not a pure fire team, but I'm not too fussed about pure fire teams at the moment. So
Which is fine as well, because if you do lose the Beast Hunter and you go into a 4-man link, then
I've still got Sixth Sense, and you've still got to deal with the Shang-Chi, who's
who's BS13 with Burst 5.
That's right. So the way I sort of deploy them is so that the Beast Hunter is the first thing that gets engaged, and then if he works, he works. If not, that's okay. He's only 9 points. And the second thing is the Shang-Chi who gets engaged, and he is much harder to take out.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Now
That's the only minor criticism I have of this list is that you have an obvious lieutenant. Someone does want to ship it.
Yeah, the Tiangao is hollowed as an option that can also be an LT.
Or chain of command?
Chain of no, the heavy infantry one does not have chain of command. It's the light infantry one has chain of command. But you're right, I do have a pretty obvious lieutenant. In saying that, he is bunkered up pretty well in that 5-man link. So
come get some.
That's right. And so I'll just load up my second list.
And you got AP mines there to protect him potentially.
Exactly. So I'm putting the Beast Hunter's putting a mine down, and the Long Yard's putting a mine down as well. So
and the Hundun's watching.
Exactly. Always. Hundun's
always watching.
Hundun is always watching.
Always watching.
So let me just share this second list in the chat there. Okay, and then I'll bring this over on the screen. And then this is my second list. A lot of similarities. It does hit a lot of the same notes, but then a few differences as well. So before we had Sugar and Spice, this is all things nice. The same Blue Wolf and Tiangao combo, Mech Engineer, just a line troop lieutenant who I hired somewhere. Baggage Bot. This is where things start to change a little bit. We've got the Guilang Hacker, who's deploying infiltrating. A Tiger Soldier Paramedic. 2 Flash Pulse bots and 1 Shaolin Monk, and that's 1, 2. Yeah, that's 10. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 10 in Group 1, and then Group 2 we've got 2 Long Yar Mine Layers, a Hundun, a TR bot, and a War Core. So this is more of a traditional 10 and 5 split where the Group 2 is your stand-up ARO presence to slow the enemy down. Your opponent spends orders in taking out those things in Group 2, and I'm totally okay with them doing that because none of them score anything. None of them do much for missions. They're just there to die and to potentially kill a couple of things in the process as they go down. This is the list that I took for and had planned on taking and did end up taking for Supremacy, Supplies, and Rescue. Whereas I wanted the drop troop in Rescue particularly so that I could drop in or walk in if possible. If my opponent had synced and brought back a couple of civvies to deal with that. And then the fact is a paramedic in Supplies means he gets a double roll when opening a box, and then also have a few more midfield things deploying out of my deployment zone for Supremacy as well. So that's the long and short of my lists. Kev, did you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I don't know if you want to have
spoilers, them. Listeners. Phoenix. Sphinx. There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to throw these up on the thing or not, or how we even do that. I guess I have to put it on the Discord. That's probably a good idea, right? Yeah.
Do. So I've sent mine to the Facebook group chat.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, so I was running Shaz Vasi for this, and the first list up here is what I just basically call countermeasures, because I don't know if you've listened on the podcast. I have no idea what my lists are going to be, and I didn't want to just make a list that was only for countermeasures, but spoiler alert, that's what I did. My countermeasures list is a Nox Lieutenant, an Echidron, Q-Drone HMG, a Medtech with 2 slave drones, a Caliban MSC-1 Spitfire, a Caliban Chain of Command for the obvious Nox, Mentor Hacker, Specular Mine Layer, Specular Boarding Shotgun, and a Malignos Killer Hacker. That's
sorry, Kev. Have you shared that anywhere for me to open?
No, I'm doing that while I'm typing, which is hard to do because I cannot do things at the same time. I'll do it now? There you go. That's it there. Sharing it. So that's group 1. And then group 2 is 1 R drone, which is a flash pulse bot, and 4 Tigers with double action CC weapons. So this one was my countermeasures list. You've got MedTech, you've got a Caliban with MSV1, you've got Chain of Command, you've got 2 hackers. Both of them are veterans, and then 2 speculos to do the veteran classifieds on the other side of the table. So yeah, this is one I've been working with for a little bit, and I quite like it. Any comments on that, boys? Move on.
I mean, Group 2 is just egregious as Tigers are when you stack them like that, and the double speculo is quite formidable as well. I like this list.
Yeah, I like this list too. And I mean, we'll talk about how many games I played with it later. The other list is as Val says, my Sphinx list. This is so I'll also copy that and put it into the chat so that you can paste it into Uda if you want to while I'm talking.
Yep.
So this is my Sphinx list. This is what was originally designed to do. I've called it Comm Center, because I wanted to try and build a killy list that could still push buttons. And it was also sort of designed to do rescue as well. But like I said on previous episode, I couldn't quite decide where I was going to go with this, and how I was going to split it. Basically, it came down to the fact that I wanted to run a Sphinx, and I was just going to run it no matter what, and hopefully it would work. So this list is 2 Echidrons, Caliban Engineer with 2 Slave Drones, a Speculo Mine Layer, a Sphinx, 2 Nox. One of them was my Lieutenant, so Decoy Lieutenant, Shrouded Hacker, a Mentor Hacker, and a Taiga with double action CC weapons. So that's 10 orders in Group 1. Then Group 2 is, you guessed it, an R drone and 4 Taigas. So it's basically, so Group 2 is always like basically four Taigas with double action CC weapons and the R drone. If found the double action CC weapons, just get 1 point more, just get twice as much work done as the AP plus shock. Amount of times I've rolled into somebody and they've just passed their armor save it just happens all the time. So having the double action just means that I can roll in, and at the very least, I'll usually take 1 wound off whatever I've hit.
And you've got the R drone in case one of those 4 survive, so you can go again.
Exactly, and the R drone's always there just to give myself, especially if I go first, which is what this list is designed to do, to go first and use that R drone's order to pump another order into the Taiga and maybe potentially get it to Berserk or just be in a more annoying, obnoxious position. Quick shout out to the Mentor Hacker because it's in both my lists. I really, really like this profile and in this mission lineup because we have 3 out of the 5 missions with exclusion zones, and because mentors don't have infiltration, paying 1 point more for essentially a better shrouded hacker is with counterintelligence and a BTS of 6 was really, really good. So the mentor hacker I'm really enjoying when you combine it. Yeah, basically when you go first and your opponent knows you've got countermeasures or thinks you've got countermeasures and doesn't bother stripping you orders, so you have like 9. You effectively have 10 orders to pump into the Sphinx on turn 1.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
really, really valuable.
Yeah, that's. Did you ever use the R drone as like a repeater net to extend your repeater range, or you use it as an arrow?
I think in all 5 of my games, the only thing the R drone did was occasionally throw out the occasional flash pulse, but it was really just orders for the Tigers.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, it didn't. Hacking wise in this game, in this tournament, didn't do an awful lot. The hackers were primarily used for pushing buttons and doing classifieds.
The strong thing about having hackers under camo states is the fact that you don't need killer hackers because you pick your fights unless they discover you, of course. So you're not like susceptible to their killer hackers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They can just sit next to a button, sit next to wherever they need to be, and just wait to be used. Because most of the time my opponent isn't. I mean, I was worried going into this because we've heard about the strength of Ariadna, and I was worried about bears and I was worried about sensor on dogs. Thankfully, I didn't run up against any of that, so that was good.
Yeah, no.
Those,
fair
those,
enough.
so those are my two lists. I think I've sent you the other one there as well, Nick. If you wanted to throw that one up too, I did, or maybe I didn't. Yeah, I did. So those are my two lists.
Cool. Val, I've got yours open now as well. We've got Novacore
Which
Official 1.
Novacore official one. All right. So this one is the list that I used for round 1 and 5. So this was for countermeasures.
Countermeasures and Com Center.
That's right. That's right. So countermeasures was always going to be my hardest mission because I just didn't build a list for it. But basically, what you've got is a Harris of a Kyosot, Kaitok heavy rocket launcher, and Anyat. So then after that, you've got a 4-man link. You got a Vanguard Lieutenant, a Vanguard Paramedic, Seriat HRL with Tinbot, and a Kurgat Engineer with Drop Bears. Then you have a Q Drone HMG, Datarazi, and that completes Group 1 with 9 models. Group 2 has six models. It's got an R drone, a Rindak, Osnat with 2 Predators in another Harris, and an E drone. So basically, you've got a Harris with the Kyosot, the Kaitok, Anyat, and then you've got a 4-man link. So you've got 2 ARO pieces. The idea is, the Kaitok and the Seriat are the aero pieces, and the Q drone. So you got quite a good aero presence, and you've got a good spread of good spread of specialists, mainly being the Rindak, who can do quite a lot of classifieds because he's a paramedic and heavy infantry. And you've got Anyat, who's a character, and you've got Kyosot with an MSV. But I only had one hacker, and that was the E drone. So the only hacking I could do was through the E drone. It was
The E
pretty,
drone.
yeah, it was pretty dicey. So anyone who managed to achieve the challenge where they got like 5 classifieds with 1 model, which I think was done by a Knight of Santiago.
What was
Knight of
it?
Justice hacker. Somebody who did it with
Oh.
it was a Knight of Justice hacker who did it. It was only one person who achieved it, and they did it with a Knight of Justice hacker, and they got more classifieds with that model than I got with my whole army. So
Wow.
yeah, so there you go. So that was my first list. And then my other list was official Novacore official 2, and that was a 3-man link of Kornak, a Rodok with strategic deployment, and Anyat. So that's a Harris. And then I've got a 4-man team of Mora Vanguard Paramedic, Suryat Heavy Rocket Launcher, Kaitok Heavy Rocket Launcher, Morat Vanguard Missile Launcher, a Datarazi, and a Gahi. That rounds out Group 1 with 9 models again. And then Group 2 has 6 models, starting with an Ecodron, an M drone, which is the utility one with forward observer and sensor, a Rasyat Spitfire, 2 Predators, and an Osnat in a Harris. So those are my so the common theme there between the two lists is obviously the Osnat with the 2 Predators. I think that's a very strong Harris, and having the heavy rocket launcher Seriat with MSV1 as well as the Kaitok because I value my aero presence.
So that
Oh,
was
and
two.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry. So both of those lists had two sort of 3-man links, or
Yes.
three-man links technically.
Yeah, so 2 3-man, so 2 Harrises and 1 4-man link. So I was very much playing. I was playing 4-man links. I was setting up both lists to play with 4-man links, but because
Right.
there's so many wild cards in there, I ended up deploying as a 5-man link twice.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah,
can just
because
pull it off and have a duo instead.
throw Anyat in there and or a Kaitok into the 4-man,
And
and
they're still pure.
exactly.
Great. And that's, I
That's
mean,
right.
that's one of the great
Plus some BS.
advantages of Morats, right? With the Morat rule,
Indeed.
is that they can make these pure fire teams. So it's kind of, I do find it a little bit surprising that you wouldn't lean into that and just organize them to have 5 anyway to get the extra ballistic skill.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, look, we can, I think that might be probably the way to go. I think that's how all the other Morai players did it, and some of them did a little bit better than I did, especially when you look at how many objective points I got and how close all my games were. But we'll get into that.
I think though there's some value in being able to run a 4-man link, and then that fifth member then can be something different. Like I don't have the other list up at the moment, but the first list, what was that? Can you be brought back up again? I want to talk quickly about the Kaisot.
Yeah, the Kyosot. Yeah, the Kyosot is so
The Kyosot
good.
does not make a pure link,
No.
right?
So you
That's why you've got a Kyosot, a Kaitok, Anyat, then what was it? 2 Morats?
yeah, 2 Vanguards, Suryat, and Kurgat. So
Also, okay, yeah, so it's a 3-man enemy.
no, 2 Vanguards, a Suryat, and a Kurgat. Kurgat can go into, so that's a 4-man.
Oh, that's the 4-man, but the 3-man is the Kaisot, the Kaitok, and the Anyat.
Yeah, that's right. So the
No, I
Kaitok
don't.
joint. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see the Kaisot being used very much. I guess we'll talk about when into your games, but what made
Yes.
you want to bring that particular profile?
I think there's a lot of value to it in the sense that it can really hammer your opponents, get it into the right gunfight, and
Right.
that nearly happened in round 5, and we'll discuss that. But basically, what you can do is you can throw the Kaitok into the 4-man link, making it a 5-man link if you're going second, and you can still have Anyat and Kyosot in a duo. And the main thing with the duo is the fact that Anyat brings smoke, the Kyosot has MSC1 and chain colts and submachine guns. So effectively, by doing that, they're quite a nasty little duet, which can, because she has a K1 combi and he has a AP submachine gun with T2. So if you need to take out a tag, those two are gonna do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good profile. It definitely needs a piece that can range out a bit further than it can. I
Yep.
think Anyat probably doesn't quite, doesn't do that job as well.
Mm.
Like if it had been in a duo or a Harris with something like an HMG or hell even something like Hornak,
Yeah.
might have been being able to get into those range bands that it needs to be in. But sure, certainly it's a dangerous piece if it's allowed
Yeah.
to. I'm thinking like a lot of TAC players, or even Ariadna players, if you can get like a Morimer, with a T2 boarding shotgun into range, it's just going to kill. It's getting it into
Absolutely.
range is the problem.
Yeah, well, that's why you bring Anya, because she's got the smoke.
Yeah, sure, that's true.
But yeah. Anyway, I only really got it once. And we'll discuss that round 5.
Cool.
All right.
So we could
Well,
probably
let's get into it then.
jump into the rounds. Now, I want us to try and be as brief as possible. We don't want full blow by blows. If we can
Yeah.
keep into like 5 minutes max per game, I think that'll do it. Just
Yeah.
touch on the main points. So, my round 1 countermeasures
Do a timer.
was that's right. My round 1 was countermeasures against a player from Canberra whose ITS name was Bell Horace. I cannot for the life of me remember his actual name. I do apologize. He was playing Steel Phalanx, and his list had like Phoenix in a bunch of Myrmidons, as well as a Thracatai link, and then a few other bits and pieces around the place. He won the role and elected to go first, which I was totally okay with because I was taking my list that has a fairly strong ARO presence with the link team, with the 2 guys standing up and a few other bits and pieces around the place as well. His first turn, he didn't really achieve too much. I mean, our flop was not necessarily conducive to a first turn achievements really either as well. We had, I can't remember exactly what we had, but I know we had, I think, like test run and experimental drug came up early, and then maybe sabotage as well. So they're obviously going first with those things to like repair something or heal someone, unless you're planning on losing something in your first turn. It's a bit tricky. So I think first up he just burnt test run because I had a whole bunch of remotes up as well that he could have capped, and then I could have repaired fairly easily, which was not a bad play. But then he was running Steel Phalanx, and whenever I run Steel Phalanx, I always am sort of afraid that they're just going to jump straight down my throat, smoke all the way out the board, and then just tear me apart at really close range. He didn't do that at all. He kind of kept his link teams in his deployment zone and just started with Phoenix hurling rockets at me, which was kind of okay because couple of things went down, but nothing that I was not too afraid to lose. And then he hadn't achieved any classifieds in his first turn. Comes around to my first turn, and because he's still I didn't take anything out in ARO, he's still got a couple of pretty strong pieces standing up, but I managed to maneuver around them with a couple of cautious moves. Got my engineer up in just past the midfield and pushed some decharges onto a piece of terrain for sabotage, which was the first classified I achieved. And then I think that's all I did in my first turn as well. So pretty low scoring first round. Second round, I also pushed my tag up the flank because there was one of the ones where you had to get a hacker to do the thing in the deployment zone.
Mapping. Yep.
And so I
Hard
started
one.
to push my my tag, dragging the killer hacker up with him, and to counter that, he launched lobbed a repeater, deployable repeater from a pitcher right next to him. So my tag, as well as my secret killer hacker, were in his hacking net. Then he started moving one of his hackers that he had, which was actually Scylla.
Oh yeah.
Which, because I don't ever read courtesy lists, right? If I had read it, I would have reacted differently. But I'm like, yeah, that's a regular hacker. You've just walking past. I'm in your repeater range. I'm gonna reveal my my killer hacker and Trinity you. And he's like, oh, cool. I'll just Trinity you back with Trinity +1 damage. And you're in and I get my firewall bonus, which stacks with my ECM hacking -3. And I'm like, I have just made the most terrible decision. I should have known what that was, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my guy died, and which was not great because he was one of the two hackers that I have in the list. When we've we've ended up getting a couple hacking cards on the draw. So I think he then achieved 1 or 2 and brought it back to parity. But still not many things dying. So I still had plenty of orders. Comes around to my next turn and he's dropped a drop troop. Sorry, in his turn as well, he dropped a drop troop right into my deployment zone. And then when it tried to engage with Liang Kai, they both did a wound to each other with template weapons. But Liang Kai doesn't have 2 wounds, but he's got no wound in cap, so he didn't go down. But his guy did go down, and the next draw on the flop was in extremis recovery. So I'm like, and this guy's sitting right in my deployment zone. So I'm looking at the flop, I'm like, okay, I think I could probably achieve 3 of those right now. So I spend all my orders on my hacker, because it was also the one that we got up was to hack an enemy model, or to pass a whip check with a hacker in zone of control of an enemy. So I walked my hacker over to this unconscious drop troop and did the hack and it got it off, and then walked a monk up to do it in extremis recovery. I failed the whip roll at that point, but achieved it.
+3 as well, right?
Yeah, so I failed that one, but then achieved it in the next turn. So I ended the game. We ended the game with, I had 4 classifieds and he had 2, so it was a 6-2 win to me. In saying that if he had played a little bit differently and been a bit more efficient with some of his orders, he definitely could have taken me. Because he chose to sort of stay in his deployment zone and use his sort of key pieces to shoot at me from back there. When it came around to my turn, there was nothing up close that was really threatening me. So I was able to maneuver around and slide, and using smoke and just cautious moves and things like that, get around his pieces. So
I think he needs to listen to the audiobook of Troy, because that drop troop was the opposite of that wooden horse. Like, it was genuinely a gift. That drop troop gave you 2 classifieds from the sounds of it.
Exactly, that's right. So, but when the drop troop came down, I don't think those classifieds were there. They both came up in the next turn. Like, one, he'd achieved 1, so then 1 came up, and then I burnt one of the other ones, and the next one that came up was like, okay, this is a very, very nice draw that I'm looking at right now.
That's lined up pretty well. But obviously, I don't think he was intending to lose his drop troop. I think he was intending to do some damage. But Liang Kai for the first fight, that's hard.
Yeah, and there was Liang Kai and the 2 monks. He was able to hit all of them with the first chain rifle,
for the template,
but they all dodged, and so then 2 of them dodged out of line of fire, and Liang Kai just stood there.
Yeah.
So the next encounter was just him, Liang Kai versus the drop troop, and he came off second best.
Yeah, fair enough.
What was the drop trip? The
Oh,
the only drop trip you get
yeah,
the
some cheap thing. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
yeah, I can't remember the name of them now off the top of my head, but yeah, Diomedes is the name character for them. Ectremoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
Same.
Ectremoy. Yeah, the real cheap one.
they're
So,
good.
Yeah, they're
oh, he
really
was
good for the
he was a
price.
hacker as well. Actually, 25 point. Or was it 20? Was it the hacker or not the hacker? I can't remember. But
How many minutes was that?
I was like, well, I mean, I was counting it there. That was
I'm joking.
eight,
Yeah,
8 minutes. 8 minutes, Nick.
Okay,
Yes, you're
okay.
3 minutes. You're
bit
3 minutes
bit too
over the.
long winded. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Kev, Kev,
I'll try and improve.
jump in.
I'll try to improve on
Jesus,
it.
this is the most
Try to
toxic
improve on
thing
it.
we've ever done.
Okay, so that's all under the
You give anybody any authority over anyone, they'll fucking abuse it.
so
It's like hex.
I just put up my table from round one, and yes, I have marked on the table where my other hacker was in that as well. For those of us who are in the chat, so my first round was against Josh Price, who I discovered after I met him is actually a fellow Victorian. So my first round was against Victorian. I'd never met him before because he actually lives about 4 hours away in Albury, and he's a doctor, and he also drove up to Novacore. So shout out to him for making the long drive up by himself. He was playing Assassins, and we rolled off, and I can't remember who won, but sorry.
Isn't he patient zero?
Well, I mean, I don't know
okay, no, go on, sorry.
brought it up potentially. Who knows? But I can't remember who won the role. But either way, I went first. I think I might have won it and chosen to go first. The reason why I chose to go first was I had 2 speculos on this list, and I also knew I was playing Assassins, and I didn't want to get fidayed. So I thought, right, I'm going to go first. The flop wasn't the best. I had mapping like you did, Nick, as well as a couple others that I was like, oh, fuck, how do I do those? So I chose to go first, and basically made it my mission to go and do mapping on turn 1, which required me getting my Malignus hacker from the 16-inch line all the way across. Now, I don't know if you want to pull up that photo that I put in there, Nick, because it might be useful to our listeners to understand what I did. But once it's up there, you can tell me if you can get up there.
Sorry, just give me a moment.
Yep. But basically, yeah, I made it my mission to do to get mapping with the Malignus KHD.
Okay, it's on the screen.
Yeah, he basically. Oh, that was your time. That was your 10 minutes, not mine. That wasn't mine. That was mine. That was his. I haven't put mine on yet.
So good.
Okay, 5 minutes starts now. Right. So my Malignus basically moved across this what do you call it? This walkway, prone, like a lot of orders because my opponent had a link team standing up. And they also had this very interesting thing where you had 3 Ghulams on a rooftop just standing up. And I was like, okay,
Those aren't Ghulams. Did you know that they weren't Ghulams at that point?
Well, while he was deploying, I was like, oh, I mean, it's possible that he could be like wanting to make a little Harris out of this. Then as we went on, I was like, that's an IR. Right, okay. So I basically called his bluff with the Malignus. I basically started moving it. And once I'd realized that those were probably IRs, I just stood the guy up and just walked into the midst of two of these hollow echoes. Well, there were Ghulams, but I reckon they were hollow echoes. Basically asked him if he wanted to do anything. No, was it because he's a marker and I'm a marker? He elected to do nothing. I just elected to continue on my way. Got into the back arc of them and then proceeded to do mapping. And then, before I did mapping, realized that there was Layla Sharif was in the back there in a link team. So I was like, well, my Malignus hacker is going to kill Layla Sharif. Killed Layla Sharif, ended mapping, then went back into camo state. And the rest of my turn was the Speculo throwing smoke on one of the HVTs, to then walk into base contact and get capture. Or capture, or whatever the one is when a veteran has to be in base contact with an HVT.
Mm-hmm.
I basically then put my Speculo out in the open for the next round because the HVT has disappeared, the smoke has disappeared, the Speculo's just kind of stand there going, hello, kill me now. Josh got pretty unlucky with some of the rolls, wasn't able to kill the Malignus efficiently. I think he whiffed a few rolls. Ended up climbing a Gazi up there to try to jammer me, but got shot up by my Q drone that was at the back of the board. Did put the Speculo down. Did put the Speculo down. Did eventually put the Malignos down, but couldn't kill either of them. Then in my second turn, I rolled the regen for both of them successfully, and they both stood back up again.
Yuck.
So
That's
I'm
disgusting.
just going to pause you there for a second, Kev. I've just got to pause the recording to fix something, okay?
Oh, sure. So unfortunately, fortunately for me and unfortunately for Josh, the Malignos and the Speculo both stood back up. Again, he was able to put the Speculo down properly on the next run. He moved his IR out to go do some classifieds. I think he managed to do one of them. Unfortunately, he got into a fight with my Q drone and just kept losing. Nothing really happened. I think he lost a wound and then ran out of orders. I had a Caliban that was up on the same walkway that then stood up and took the IR out. And then my mentor hacker, who was a bit of a champion, moved out on my right flank and started doing classifieds. Started doing all the hacking ones. He did a data scan on an unconscious body, which I think was one of his Delamy. He did he did data scan, he did telemetry, he did net undermine, and he did one other that I forget what it is now. Oh, it's the other one where you have to be in base contact with an HVT. It's not capture, it's like the other one. I forget what it is now. Not rescue. It's something like HVT something. I forget what it was now, but he did end
Don't
up
worry.
doing 4.
Don't worry.
4's a lot.
Don't worry about it. So he ended up doing 4 classifieds by
That's-
the end of the game, the mentor hacker. So that was really good. There was a cool little bit at the start of the game that I forgot to mention where he went second. So he had 2 Fidets. One of his Fidets went down the back of my table where my med tech was. Then my reserve, I also had two speculos. So one of them went. So basically, sorry to go back a bit. I spent a command token to hold 2 reserves back, which are both of my speculos. His reserve, sorry, his. Oh, that's my 5 minutes up. So sorry, I'll finish on this one. So his 2 reserves, sorry, my 2 reserves were 2 speculos. He also had 2 Fidets. I deployed everything but my 2 speculos. He deployed one of his Fidets next to my medtech, the intention of just like shotgunning it or walking into close combat. I deployed one of my reserves, which was the speculo mine layer, with the speculo on one side of his Fide and my mine on the other side of the Fide. And because it was close to a wall, he couldn't move it away from it. Basically blocked in one of his Fides from moving, and the other speculo, sorry, went off to go and do objectives. So that was quite a good little position where he was kind of like, well, what do I do with this Fide now? I'm like, well, you can't. You basically have to reveal yourself and just try and dodge this mine, which he successfully did, and then managed to move out, kill my medtech, but then got taken down by a Q drone, the TR combi, and an Icadron. That was a cool little way of, I had to sacrifice my speculo in order to save my stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
It was good to have it there because having the mine and the speculo up against a corner meant that his Fide couldn't get out. So the game ended 9-2, I think it was. But yeah, it was a good game. I was just lucky that I think I got on the front foot early and did some classifieds, held his killer hacker, and basically made it harder for him to do his own classifieds.
Cool.
Very nice.
So, moving on.
Val, your 5
Yeah,
minutes
right.
starts now.
5 minutes begins. Let's see if I see. But basically, my first opponent was David Bidfell. He's a Queenslander, I think, Townsville. Very, very nice opponent. Very polite. Very clean. The way he played. He was running NCA, so he had a. I basically faced the most expensive army at the. He had 9 bolts.
That's madness.
It was fucking gross. So basically, when he deployed, I went second. He went first. Basically, he deployed 9 bolts. He had a 5-man link. He had a Harris with Spitfire leading it, and then he had 2 duos, one with a Bulletier and one with like I don't know, some character dude. But so I opted to deploy my link as a 5-man because I'm like, if those bolts are coming, I need all the BS I can get. So I did, put Kaitok my 4-man link. Basically turn 1, he pushed very hard. He set up with his 5-man link, Kaitok slicing the board. He pushed very hard with his Harris of bolts and tried to get an early classified just to get points on the board. Because he had to fight my 5-man link, he only got 1 order. It slowed him down, and he only had 1 order to kind of push one of the HVTs. It was basically the one where the veteran touched the HVT.
Yep.
So I think it's a similar one that Kevin did. Because the bolts shoot very well, they can't push buttons very well. So he got there, but his last order unfortunately failed the willpower check, and he had a bolt Spitfire standing next to one of my HVTs with his dick in the wind.
Yikes.
Yeah, so then the classified flop, I think he had a hacking thing, and I basically he also put Spitfire Bulletier in my face, and because he wanted to use the repeater on the Bulletier to do a classified, and when he got next to my Q drone to do that, my Q drone dodged away out of 2 inches, out of 8 inches, and he couldn't get any closer without engaging something. So he basically foiled his plans with that. So that was pretty lucky. And then, so my first thing is I got rid of that classified where he do hacking classifieds, the telemetry or whatever it was. I got rid of that straight away because I had an E-drone. And what came up was the paramedic classified. So the first thing I did was I let my Dadarazi run at his Spitfire bolt. I was standing there. I declared move. He declared shoot. I declared idle. He's like, why? I'm like, well,
you jerk.
yeah. It actually, yeah. So basically, he still missed. Yeah, he missed though.
Oh
So
no.
yeah. So I'm like, damn it, my best laid plans. But he really didn't have a choice because I just kept coming. He had to keep his bolt alive or
Yeah,
slow me down.
you have to kill it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I kept moving to my Dadarazi towards him, put him down. Then I put his bolt down. Got my paramedic. Got my Dadarazi up with my paramedic, and then I just stood there because I didn't want to face those bolts. I'm like, fuck that. They're hitting on 19. I'm just bunkering down. He can come fight me. So then turn 2, he pushed his 5-man. That's exactly what he did. He didn't want to fight my link with his duos, so he pushed his 5-man link, my 5-man link. He got a bead on so he pushed down my right flank. He got a bead on my Suryat HRL. He fought me twice with his bolt sniper. He hit me once doing no wounds, and then hit me again, and I took 1 wound and fell and passed my religious check to take full cover. After that, he didn't really have any other fights to pick except maybe like I don't know, kill my dad rise and maybe a Q drone or something, right? Nothing too major. But the point is that link was no longer slicing the board, and they had actually pushed up a little bit. So then I sent my Osnat Harris after them. I smoked. I used my whole group 2 orders to kind of smoke, get up, clean up that link with Vulcan shotgun. Took out like 3 bolts, and after that, we just both did 1 or 2 classifieds each, and the game ended with 3-2 my way. But I did enough damage to kind of cripple him.
Too. Wow.
Yeah, it was very all my games were very close. But basically, yeah. So he got like 1 classified turn 2. I got 1 classified turn 2, and it was like 2 all going to round 3. And he
Wow.
just couldn't do anything else turn 3. He had taken too much damage at that point. So then going into my final turn, I had enough models to kind of just get it done. I basically had to get a heavy for one of the HVTs, and then just pass a willpower check. And I did that, but I got the heavy infantry there. But it took me. I failed quite a lot of rolls, so I was starting to sweat because I only had 2 orders before to get it done, and I eventually got it done with my second last order, and took the game 3-2. So that's in terms of scoring, 5-2 was the score. So I got a major there, but not by much.
Nice.
Which was the list you ran again? Was the
So it was the one with the Kyosot. So it was
okay.
the one with the Kyosot. So the Kyosot and the Anya were a duo. I broke them into a duo and put the Kaitok into the 4-man.
Yeah, and he's not bad for it. MSV1 elite medium infantry. He can do a few. Yeah.
Yeah, he can definitely do a few. Yeah. So he was one of the guys I was tossing up between. He went after the Bulletier. He did well to deal with the Bulletier. He had them 3-1 smoke because Bulletier
Any
was yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say yeah. That's it. He took out the Bulletier.
Any mention about the table that you played on at all? I forgot to mention in my first game, but my first game table was actually it was good. It was actually a Melbourne table. So shout out to Luke Henry for it. My only criticism for it was the 16-inch line was where all of the buildings were, which meant that like the only place I could put my HVTs were on the roads because it was like a city table. Which
Yeah,
meant that my opponent had like direct line of fire to all three of my HVTs. That was the
brutal.
only, I guess, like the criticism of it, but it's not a big deal.
I played on Luke and Peter's table of the Huck table. The only criticism it's an awesome table. I love that table.
I love it too. Yeah.
some long fire lanes, but you need that. I think tables should have long fire lanes, and that meant his bolt missile launcher and bolt sniper would just roast. So I was very glad he moved them turn 2. The only thing I don't like the worm. I have to say I don't like the worm on that table. It looks cool, but in terms of providing cover or a place to put your models, it's not very good.
So when you say the worm, you mean like the dune?
There's
the
like the
dune
sand
thing?
Yeah.
worm coming out of the
That's right.
coming out
Yeah.
of the ground.
Yeah.
It looks fucking awesome and it's super cool. But in terms of deploying, the reason I didn't deploy that side is simply because the worm was on the other
Like
side. I'm like,
maybe
nah,
if it was somewhere in the midfield, it would be okay.
maybe a bit better.
But
Yeah.
not in
I
someone's deployment zone.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
the thing with that table is that there's lots of rounded edges, which used to be a nightmare in N3, but N4 is a lot easier to do now
Yes.
because you just get cover. But that still doesn't mean it's easy to hide.
No, exactly right. Yeah, that's right.
You know,
And it's a big shout out to Dave. He
there's
was
no
awesome.
covers.
He was a very awesome opponent. He's just great. Very clean player, very polite, and yeah, very courteous. Yeah. All you can ask from an opponent.
Perfect. Then we
Cool,
broke
all right.
for lunch. I went to the pub and got a $13 steak because they had lunch specials on.
You lucky bastard. I went to the fucking Whistler and waited 40 minutes for some dumplings, which I ended up not eating because I was like 5 minutes late for round 2.
Oh no.
Yeah, they just like sat there and got cold. It's like fuck. But that was my own fault. I just decided to go to a busy pub, which I thought
Yeah.
would be easy.
So
What do I do?
Oh, sorry, Val. Do you remember what you had
No,
for
don't
lunch?
worry. No, don't worry about my lunch.
Round 2 was supplies, and I came up against Eganra, who's again that was his ITS name, but I can't remember his real name. But he was the nicest guy I've ever played a game against. I reckon.
Where is he? Where is he from?
From Sydney. From he'd ridden his motorbike up.
You're playing Norden. You're playing Norden.
Yes.
Yeah, Norden's a top dude. Yeah, Norden's
we had an absolutely
great.
awesome game. He was playing TAC, and he had like a Harris with Veronin, a Frontovic paramedic, I think, with like a T2 rifle, and a vet Kazakh.
Yep.
And then he also had Carmen and Batard, and then just a slew of camo markers, maybe a couple of those remotes as well, and to fill it out. I was taking my everything nice list so that I had a little bit of midfield presence as well as the Tiger Soldier waiting in the wings. And not for the last time, that Tiger Soldier was the absolute hero of the game. So basically, how it went was he went first, and I think he won the role and just elected to go first. And I put up my aero presence as I normally do. But he just managed. One thing that this list really does lack is any decent MSV at all. Really, one of my lists doesn't have any MSV at all. And this list the only MSV is on the Guilang, who's a hacker, so he's not standing up. So he basically
that's why I bring the Syriat HRL.
He smoked up the board with an Ermendino, opened a box, and then walked back, and then Carmen speeds out on a motorbike and does a little relay pass and grabs the supply box off him and runs back to her into his deployment zone, and then spends the rest of the game dismounted, hiding behind her bike in their deployment zone. So I'm like that, and that was his first turn. Then he advanced Veronin and the little Harris up on the other side a little bit as well. So I'm like, okay, you've got one box straight away. That's not the best situation for me, but I think I can recover from this. So my turn one, I advance with the Blue Wolf, who starts obliterating things, kills Veronin and the kills Veronin, kills the. But he had chain of command underneath one of the camo markers. Also kills the front of Vic T2.
How were you able to kill Veronin?
What's that? Sorry.
How were you able to kill Veronin? Like, was he
the position that that advanced up to? I was able to just move out and get a line on him.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And shoot him with bullets, basically.
Mm.
But in the process, I copped a crit from that T2 rifle, which was nasty. So when with the crit, one's T2, one's not. I passed the save that was the crit save, so I passed the one that was not T2, but failed the one that did 2 wounds. So straight off the bat, the tags copped a couple of wounds. There was a real cinematic moment a little bit later where his dog soldier had gone beast mode and he charged into the tag, and so it was like Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla with the Blue Wolf versus the dog soldier, which was pretty cool. But yeah, he didn't really manage to kill much other stuff because I had advanced into the midfield with my tag and with a few other pieces to really tie down the other boxes, and so we both kind of lost most of our key pieces until it came around to my final turn, where the Tiger Soldier walks in and does his real hero move. So he had Batard watching that side of the table, but I was further than 8 inches away, so he couldn't throw a hammer at me for free. But he dodged into within 8 inches. So then I started throwing bullets and he started throwing hammers until Batard finally went down. And I had the 2 classifieds that I had were to with a paramedic or doctor pass a whip check against the enemy HVT, and with a veteran or elite be synced with the enemy HVT at the end of the game. So my Tiger Soldier is a paramedic and is also a veteran. Or maybe he's elite, I can't remember, one of those two. But he's the guy that can do both of my classified objectives. And because he's a paramedic, he gets 2 dice to open the box. So I'm like, okay, I need to spend all my orders on this guy to make sure right now in my final turn, he wins the game for me. So I walk up, I kill a couple of things, walk up and do the whip check on the HVT and pass it to get 1 classified. Walk up and sync the HVT. And once I've synced with I did this in my second turn. And then it was my third turn. I was panicking because I had to try and keep this guy alive. But I synced with the HVT, and then in my final turn, took out his other couple pieces, walked around and grabbed the box. So it ended up being 3-2 because he had achieved 1 classified and gotten a box. I'd gotten a box and achieved 2 classifieds. So it was a pretty low scoring game, but very tense the whole time.
Yes.
Any takeaways from the game that you like?
Look, I mean,
learnings.
Yeah, look, I would say because I felt confident at the start that I had all boxes covered, but then the fact he just threw heaps of smoke out, and I was like, oh, I don't have these covered at all. I can't see shit.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know if but like, I mean, I still came out with the win at the end of the day, even though it was pretty slim. I'm not sure if I would have done anything different because I didn't really have anything that could. Like really, because I didn't want to really expose myself on deployment in case he just.
The thing is, they spend their first turn grabbing boxes or grabbing a box, but they didn't kill any of your stuff. So, therefore, you just go, you just move out and kill them back.
Yeah, and that's effectively what happened.
Yeah, it's often the problem with supplies. Someone who does the smash and grab on turn 1 really needs to know their shit that they can defend themselves, because all it takes is a drop troop or a tag that can push through the lines, and suddenly you've lost all of your boxes. There's that balance of being able to grab a box and do a few wounds to things, or just alpha on on turn one, and then work on getting boxes later. Which is conveniently what happened to me in my game of supplies. So I played against Casper, who was he was actually, I think, the only person from South Australia who made it over from South Australia. I'm pretty sure. Where was he? Where was he? He was definitely there. SA, somewhere in here. Anyway, he was a lovely guy. He was playing Starmada. And
Starmada, is it?
yes, he was playing Starmada.
Oh, sorry, that's
And
not okay.
yeah, Vane's his ITS name. And we had a cracker of a game. I now this is where, so the first game I ran the countermeasures list. And that's the last time I play my countermeasures list. So for the next 4 games, folks, spoiler alert, I'm running the Sphinx. So, and the reason why I ran the Sphinx in this game particularly was I took one look at the table and I went, I'm going first. Like that was basically like before we'd even, we'd flipped the classifieds. I'd gone, oh yeah, whatever, I can do those, I guess. Took one look at the table and said, if I win this roll, I'm going first, so I'm taking the Sphinx list. Because it wasn't that it was particularly open. It was a table on a Knights of Dice. Sorry, it was a Knights of Dice table. You can imagine big, tall buildings. There's actually the photos up there on the chat if you want to put that up there, Nick. If you can work your magic on it.
Oh, sure.
There's big, tall buildings. In the middle. A bit of scatter in the middle as well, but the deployment zones weren't particularly defensible. I didn't think. So I chose to go first. He chose the side which I actually think, in hindsight, was probably the worst of the two sides. There was more scatter in it, but there was probably just less places to hide. So I chose to I chose to hold back 2 things in reserve. One was my Speculo, one was my Sphinx. Deployed on the side with the objective room closest to it, and proceeded to my Speculo down in a position where, so basically, sorry, to quickly talk about his list. So he had a Kappa core, so it's like a Kappa missile launcher, Raven Eye, the blue coat, a couple other pieces. He then had this really cool little Harris of a bronze Kappa paramedic and a Psychop with the MSV1. He had 2 Crushers, who were both specialist operatives with like Panzerfausts or rocket launchers and things like that. So they were the obvious, like they were the ones that are going to move up, grab the boxes, and move back. Then he also had like some remotes. I think he had like a flashball bot and a baggage bot, and then a Raptor, who he thought, funny this, he thought was the killer hacker, but when he looked at his own list, he was like, "Oh no, it's the Spitfire. I gone fucked up."
Oh no!
He deployed it. He deployed it with the idea, because it's a fantastic piece, the Raptor, killer hacker.
Yes.
But when we started to engage each other, he was like, "Oh, hang on. Oh, this one's got a Spitfire. Oh no." This is
Oh
the
no!
wrong profile. I was like, oh, sorry, buddy. I
That's
mean, it was actually the
brutal.
better. There was a better profile for the engagement we had, but it wasn't the profile he wanted because it was obviously not a specialist. So my first turn was basically, the whole game is essentially Speculo, mine detonates, kills a couple of things, and the Sphinx just goes on a rampage. He runs up the left flank, and just starts taking shots. Just yeah, kills the Raptor, kills the Bronze, kills the Kappa, kills the Cyclops, kills a Kappa that happened to be his Cho, who was actually his lieutenant.
Oh, brutal.
Kills kills a Varangian, and then the Tigers, who got really lucky in this game, managed to dodge into line of fire of each of his Crushers, and then berserk into them, and he failed both armor saves. So I killed on turn 1 his whole Harris, half his core, both his Crushers. Oh, he also had Andromeda, and I I had like I had a few orders. I had like maybe 3 orders left on the Sphinx, and I looked at Andromeda, going, "Okay, I could kill Andromeda at this rate." Then I thought, hang on, how close are you to retreat? And he was like, pretty close. And I was like, I'm not gonna kill Andromeda then. I'm gonna leave a Taiga. I think actually a Taiga tried berserking into her. He'd passed one, failed one armor save, and then died. I was like, I'm just gonna move the Sphinx back to where this like helipad is, and then just go back into camo state. He was in lost the lieutenant, and he was very close to retreat. And at this point, he did a thing which I think, at the time I wasn't sure what he was doing. I think what he was trying to do, and he did sort of reveal this later, was he thought if he could put himself into retreat, the game would end. Which is true, but it would end at the end
Next
of
turn.
You
it
got
would
to you
end
got to
at the next
start.
turn.
You got to start the turn in retreat, and then at the end
Yes.
of that turn, it ends.
Exactly. So
Oh, dear.
what he did was he used his remaining orders and his like I think he had like four orders left
Oh,
and
God.
command tokens. He just basically spent them all, move his Raven Eye up to extract a box, and as he was moving, I had like a Taiga looking at him, going, "I'm just gonna chain rifle chain rifle your link team." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." I'm like, "You're not gonna dodge?" I was like, "No, no, no. I need to use my orders to get to the box." He got the box out, got the Raven Eye, got the box, and finished his game. Finished the turn. Was like, "Okay, game over. I'm
That's
in
so many
retreat."
dark jokes in my head. Oh my God.
I'm in retreat. I'm like, "You're not in retreat until the start of your next turn." And he's like, oh
Oh
no."
no!
I'm like, "Yep." So it
Oh,
actually got really close because I only had this turn now to do what I needed to do, which was to go grab as many boxes as I could and then wrestle the box off his Raven Eye. So I got the Caliban Engineer to go up and grab one box. That was fine. It also went and did both its classifieds because it had retro engineering and I did secure HVT. So I did retro engineering with the
Jesus.
Caliban and then secure HVT. And then my remaining orders, all I needed to do was wrestle the box off of the Raven Eye. But the Raven Eye had deployed behind a piece of cover. The only way I could get to see it was to get within inside the 8 inches of it. The Raven Eye has an emerald. So I was like,
Mm.
I'm just gonna have to do it. But he did this cool thing where I moved inside of 8, but not inside of line of fire. Oh no, wait, no, it wasn't what I did. Yes, I think he dodged. He dodged into line of fire, and then I think he placed a mine, and I shot him, and I think I fluffed the roll or something like that. So now my Sphinx was like inside trigger area of an EM mine. I was like, well, I have to go for it. I have to kill you. I can't dodge. I was running out of orders, so I had to like put the Sphinx in harm's way, killed the Raven Eye, got him to drop the box, and had to roll for the EM mine. Rolled an 18 and a 20 for my armor save. I was like, thank fuck for that. Sphinx then picks up the box and the game ends, and then I
Jesus.
think I end like 8-0. Yeah, it was a bloodbath of a game, and Casper took it really well. He made some mistakes with like not understanding how retreat worked and forgetting that his Raptor was not the killer hacker, but
Yep.
all in all, yeah, cracker of a game, and it was great to roll dice against him.
Nice.
No, beautiful.
What about your round 3, Val? How did you go in supplies?
Yeah, so I faced Con from TSI. He was running. Yeah, that's right. So I've got a life supply of TSI vouchers now.
What
But
did you let him
basically,
win?
no, actually, I did beat him. But I did it gracefully.
Spoiler.
Spoilers. But basically, so Con was running Dash at, and I have to thank. Have you guys seen Bloodsport, the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Many years ago.
Right. So the one of the things that happens in Bloodsport is Jean-Claude Van Damme's buddy gets really beat up and he gets revenge. So round one, Con played Lachlan from Melbourne, and at lunch, I was with Lachlan at lunch, and Lachlan told me about all the things McMurrow did to him, and basically how brutal Con's McMurrow was. So so deploying, I knew McMurrow was coming, so that actually probably played against me because I deployed really defensively. I went second again. So deployed really defensively. I put my link really deep in my deployment zone. He started the turn with McMurrow pushing up, throwing smoke, and then I think he was buoyed by the performance from round one, and he stepped out in front of my heavy rocket launcher. and I beat him in the face to face, and McMurray went down. So that was a great start for me, killing McMurray in ARO. That was a huge bonus. But nonetheless, he with his dash out list, I should probably backpedal a bit and mention that he had a 5-man brawler link and a 5-man Zhuyong link. But basically, I think the Zhuyong, the heavy infantry. I think he has 3 heavy infantry and then 2 fillers.
Mhm.
And he alternated between the 2 links. So then turn 1, and he had a 1-1-2 motorized as well. That was the other thing he had. So turn 1, he lost. He went first. He lost McMurrow. He got 1 box. He got 2 boxes. Turn 1. One with the 5-man link, which ended up getting stuck in the middle of the table, but we are holding a box.
That
And
was
the
a
other one,
Zuyong.
yeah, the Zuyong link. That's right. And then the other one, he had the 1-1-2 smoke up the field and then grab it and get out real quick, real efficient. Fucking annoying. So starting my turn 1, I'm like, God damn. So he's got 2 boxes, and I've got potential to get 1, no problem. And I've got my link really deep, which is bad, and at least he's got his Zhuyong 5-man in the middle, very vulnerable.
Did he have his 2 Liberto as well?
No, he didn't even bring Liberto. Yeah. So he didn't. Yeah, it was very, very interesting that he didn't bring Liberto in this list. But he had he reformed the link to be a 5-man for the brawlers, and they were watching the whole table.
Right.
And
So what was in the brawler link then?
so the brawler sniper, brawler heavy rocket launcher, a hacker, and then 2 filler brawlers. I think one of them being a lieutenant, probably.
Be the bounty hunters? Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure, but the 2 that gave me trouble was the sniper because he had MSV 2 and standing up, and the heavy rocket launcher standing up. So they gave me trouble because one thing I learned very quickly with my list is the fact that I didn't have anything to take on 5-man links face to face.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
had
Yeah.
lots of stuff to take them on, like if I break them up. Anyway, so my turn 1 was spent. I'm like, all right, well, I just need to do one thing and one thing only. I got to do some damage to the Zhuyong. So the Osnat link, they smoked up, and then I threw Predator after Predator at them. So first of all, the Predator came out from smoke, double chain rifled all 5 men, all 5 people in hit 3 Zhuyongs and 2 fillers. I think they were CSUs or bounty hunters. I don't know which one. I forget. But basically, I killed 1 bounty hunter and did 2 wounds to. I did a wound to each Zhuyong. And then after that, the other Predator came out, didn't do much. Then the Osnat came out and put 2 Vulcan shotgun templates on the 3 Zhuyongs. On 2 Zhuyongs because the other Zhuyong was out of range. He passed both saves on 12s. That was pretty fucking annoying. So then that was my group 2 orders. So then my group 1 orders was just all 9 orders were spent on Datarazi smoking, following the same line, throwing speculative fire smoke and killing the Zhuyong and getting him to drop the box. His turn 2 came around. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to engage you. You're not worth my time. I'm just going to send the 112 in and get the 3rd supply box and get out. So he used the brawler link to take the 1st supply box that he got with the 112 to his hacker.
So passed it on.
Yep, passed it on, and then he zoomed out with his 112, and had 2 supply boxes in his deployment zone behind a 5-man link, and with 1 Zhuyong alive. Sorry, there was 1 Zhuyong alive holding up 1 supply box in the middle of the table, but he just didn't get enough orders to kind of get him out. So turn 2, I'm like, okay, I got to really go forward, and this fucking absolutely pinning me down. So it was pretty tense. I had up my sleeve, I had a Rasyat Spitfire, and I had the Net Undermine and Sabotage as the classifieds. So I knew the Rasyat could do both very easily. But also I'm like, the Rasyat's going to be needed, so I just holding him back. And he did come needed. So I pushed my 5-man link, using the shadow zones of the buildings, kind of get in the middle of the table. I took down the Zhuyong, so the box was down, and the Zhuyong was dead, and there was like a box within range. And I finally got into a position where I could push turn 3 to take on his link. His turn 3, he tried to basically get the box, which was near my 5-man link. He ran a power bot to get it. He ran the 112 through smoke onto the box, ran a power bot to get there. My Suryat HRL dodged and put sight on that box now, and he could see through the smoke because he's in a 5-man link, and he has MC1. So then what happened is he just made a desperate play where the power bot tried to pick it up and get out, like in one order, like move three back. And luckily, I put him down with
Wait,
burst of one.
hang on. Was this a box that had been extracted already?
Yeah, it had already been extracted. So the Zhuang
Okay.
extracted it, then the
Oh
Zhuang
yeah,
had gone
that's
down.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then, so basically, he did that play, but I got lucky. I hit him with my multi pistols, brought down the bot. Then my last turn, basically, what I did, I got a bead on his 112, put him down, make him drop the box. Had my Rassiat walk in.
With what? With what?
So with my heavy rocket,
Sure.
so yeah.
Mm.
So there was like a crate, and he was just a bit taller than the crate, and I got him, made him drop the box. I couldn't get to his hacker because his link was still up. So he had one box. There was one box next to me, but I didn't have it yet, and he had and he didn't have any classifieds. So the Rassiat walks in, decharges the building, throws zero vis smoke to approach the link team, moves past the link team, throws a zero vis smoke onto the last box, and then has Anyat pick it up because the reason I couldn't pick it up earlier is because his MC sniper was watching it.
The brawler,
And yeah, that's right, brawler. And then so basically I won the game 4-3 because I also secured HVT. So it was I got 2 classifieds, 1 box, and it was 1 box each. So I beat him by 1 classified. So it was like 4-3 or something.
nail biting,
man,
another nail biting round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close. And I think I went well over my 5 minutes, so I apologize. But yeah, that was a great game. Thank you, Con. Awesome.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. We'll just jump straight into round 3. Round 3 being Supremacy. Classic Infinity. I love Supremacy. But round 3 was where the wheels very much fell off for old Nicky T. I was doing well up until this point, but I came up against Lachlan Summer, who went on to win all of Novacore. So you could probably guess how this round's gonna go. So we did the roll. He elected to go first. He won with a willpower of 17, running an avatar. Of course, he's gonna win. And it was a fairly like sort of stock standard avatar list, right? Avatar, a whole bunch of other stuff, some nasty hackers, and a whole bunch of things that ruin your day.
I think he had like Nurkius as well in there, and a shredded hacker, and
correct.
Yeah.
So he wins the role, and then I set up a bit of an ARO presence as much as I could with all my ARO pieces. He also, I tell you, it's
running the long yell list.
Yes, the list with 2 long yar and the everything nice list. So it did not have a 5-man link, just the tag and then a whole bunch of random stuff. He holds it. Yeah, it's like the most. I'm not sure if I've ever been more disheartened than when your opponent spends a command token and says, "Okay, I'm spending this command token to keep something extra in reserve, which means I'm going to have 3 reserves." Like, my God, there's so many things. So yeah, his reserves were the Avatar, a Speculo, and the third thing I can't remember what it was. It was probably not important. But he puts his Speculo right outside my deployment zone, so it's holding that zone. I kind of anticipated that was what the move was going to be, so I counter deployed on top of that same building my reserve, which was just 1 long yard with a AP mine, standing right next to him with the mine right there. And so he goes first, and the Avatar does what avatars do and just obliterated the entirety of my ARO presence and put a wound on the Blue Wolf as well. But I managed to fail guts out of line of fire, and he didn't want to push any further, so he fell back and then put his Avatar into suppressive fire in a fairly dominant area just outside of his deployment zone. So my first turn rolls around, and I've lost quite a few orders, probably 4 or 5, I reckon. and I'd lost a couple out of Group 1 as well. While Group 2 is generally the disposable group, he had still managed to punch a couple of things out of Group 1. And the first thing that I did was take out the his Speculo, which I was pretty pleased with how I did that, just with my long Yar right next to it. First off, went for a Discover, which I passed, luckily. And the next one was a Discover. He decided to reveal, because I would be discovering on like 16s or something. And there was a mine right next to him. So he decides to reveal and shoot me and just wear the mine. We ended up both ending up unconscious because I failed my shoot roll, but I just missed my shots. So my dude went unconscious from his shot, and he went unconscious from the mine. But I was totally okay with that trade. And then next up, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to try and take care of the Avatar. Before I go into what happened next, I want to let you know that it was the same table, Kev, that you played on in round 2.
This one with the Knights of Dice.
Yeah, and so I was on I think I was on the opposite side to what you were on.
Okay, so you were on the one that I thought was a little bit sparse.
Yeah, and like from that location, because those buildings were so tall as well, it was hard. And late in the afternoon, that part of the room got pretty dark, so it was very difficult for me to sort of see what was actually on the table, because and also we were right up against the wall, so I couldn't walk around that side easily. For me to walk around, I'd have to walk out past the other table and all the way back in, right? So I blame that for what might have happened next. I start to advance with the Blue Wolf to get a bead on the Avatar. I'd also forgotten that he put the Avatar into suppressive fire at this point, because it's the end of the day and I'm cooked. But I walk up to this point where I can see the Avatar, and he's like, okay, the Avatar's going to shoot this hacker, because you've just walked into this repeater. This hacker's going to total control, and this other hacker's going to total control as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, because I couldn't see where the thing was that had the repeater on it because of the building that it was behind, and I just completely forgotten that it was there. Now, like, if it was any other game, if it was earlier in the day or something else, I would have probably said, look, I just completely forgot those things were there. Do you mind if I just take that move back? Because that's the stupidest thing I could possibly do. I didn't ask because it was, we were sort of third top table at that point, right? So I didn't want to be that guy to, when it is at that level of play, to try and roll back something where I fucked up, and I just went with it. I
think you could have asked.
Well, I mean, there's an argument either way. At the end of the day, I didn't ask to take it back, and I took it on the chin. And
fairly reasonable to ask.
Well, next time. So anyway, I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'll do what I was coming up here to intend to do anyway, and I'll shoot the Avatar. And when we were calculating, I was like, oh my God, he's in suppressive fire as well. I'm hitting on like 4s or something. Or something ridiculous. So anyway, do no damage to the Avatar. My tag gets double possessed, as it does. I'm like, okay, what can I do to try and bring this back? And I'm like, okay, I want to have the minimal. Now his Avatar list has now become a 2-tag list, for one turn. So I walk one of my guys into base contact with my own tag, and then the tag kills him in close combat. As an ARO. I'm like, this is not going. And but then also on reflection after that, I was like, I shouldn't have walked in to touch him. I should have dodged, and moved to touch him, right? So that he didn't get the ARO. But again, it sort of from there it turned into a comedy of errors, and so then the next 2 turns were just me losing things one after the other, and I did manage to like push one button, so I got 1 point out of the game, but it ended up 9. Oh, no, it wasn't 9. I did hold his first turn. He only held 2 zones, and I held 2 zones, so it ended up being 8 8-1 because he
8-1.
didn't
Yeah,
get, he didn't get the 2 points for the first round. So
Ah.
so not the best
Well,
result.
Well,
for
you're
me.
about to hear you're about to hear an eerily similar battle report from me.
I've got a quick question before we go on. Did the
Yeah.
Speculo surviving affect the game at all?
Speculo didn't survive. He died to the mine.
Oh,
But
okay. Did he? Oh, so
it's
he.
not a shock mine though. It's an AP
No, it's
mine.
an
Yeah.
AP mine.
I was AP man. Okay, gotcha.
It would have still counted for zone
Oh
control. 'cause
shit! Yeah, but we didn't even think. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
Even
what.
no,
fancy.
even with, I still would have had more points in that quadrant.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Even
Did
with
he
the
did he try to regen it back up or just leave
no,
it unconscious?
no, he just
Okay.
left it unconscious. He didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
because I
did.
guess it's
doesn't.
still points.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no,
Fair enough.
I'm not sure if we even remembered about the Shazvasti rule at that point. But
Ah,
if we
interesting.
had, I'm pretty sure I outpointed him in that area anyway. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
nice. Yeah, I think he did some damage to a lot of you. I think he played 3 Melburnians. Because he played Hugh. He played you.
Day one he played against 3 people from Melbourne. So
Oh,
There
did
you
he?
go.
you're
Oh,
welcome.
okay.
You're welcome.
You welcome.
Wow.
Okay, so my round 3 was I think I don't know if I was, but I think we were on top table. Well, we were on table 1, so I'm going to call that top table. So I was rocking up against Rob Cantrell, and
No.
it was funny because I think I came back from lunch. Oh no, sorry, not lunch. I finished round 2, and I like just got myself a beer, and I was sitting on because it's BYO at the event, by the way. So I had an esky full of beer. One of the
No, yeah.
advantages of driving a trailer up is it just had so much beer. I was sitting down, I just cracked a beer, and I got the thing, and I remember going, ha 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 ha, ha fuck yes, because I was facing Rob. So
Yeah.
wandered on down to table 1, and we were playing on this table. I didn't take a picture of it actually. Or I don't think I've got one, but it was
With the train, wasn't it?
it was with the train running
Yeah, I
through
played
kind of
on
the
turn
middle
5.
of
Yeah,
it,
that was a tough
and
table.
it was a tough table. I wouldn't say it was a open table or a dense table. It was an awkward table. A lot of the terrain was kind of facing one kind of angle,
Mm.
so it felt like if you put something behind a wall and anything further up the table that was on the same angle as that wall would just see it. Um, so it was a weird table. We also ruled that we would allow because we were both playing. I was playing Shaz and he was playing Combined Army. We both ruled that Tigers could vault the
Oh, the
the
railway.
rail because it's like
Oh, yeah, it's
otherwise
just
it would just
under
like
S2.
yeah, because otherwise it was just like cut. It would just cut us off. So we thought we just. He's just like, can we just vault them? I was like, yeah, whatever. I've got 5 taggers, so I'll happily allow myself to vault this rail. We rolled off. He won the roll. He looked at me and he was like, "You're playing Shazvasti. I'm taking first turn." And I was like, "Fuck." 'Cause
He's been listening to the show, hasn't he?
I did not want Bob to get first turn. I knew he was playing combined, and he's an aggressive player. He's a very good player, and yeah, he just. Fanahan, Supremacy is one of those missions where you would like to go second because you like to be able to dominate the zones, after your opponent. In this particular mission, I wanted to go first, and I had chosen the Sphinx list, again because I don't know. I guess because the Sphinx is worth 93 points, and the way the table was set up, and the fact that it was Rob. Potentially, I could play the double specular list. That might have been better, but I was also concerned that there wasn't too many places to hide all of my camo markers. So anyway, we'll get into it. He was running a Caronted HMG and an anathematic hacker that he had in hidden deployment. The LT was the Caronted. He had couple of Dadarazi, couple of Tigers, Bit and Kiss, 2 R drones, an Umbra Samaritan hacker, and missile bot. Pretty sure that was it, ish, something like that. And like I said, I ran the Sphinx list. And I made some mistakes in deployment. I wanted to deploy my models a little, like my camo markers, as far forward as I could, so that I could walk into the zone with as few orders as possible in my turn, because I figured that he was going to probably go quite hard, and I wanted to just conserve my orders, take my own zones, and then use the Sphinx and the Speculo to try to whittle him down. That was a mistake because what it meant was at the end of the first turn, I had lost my Caliban Engineer, my Shrouded Hacker, 2 of my Tagas, my Speculo, and an Echidron. I wasn't feeling particularly great, because I basically didn't deploy very well and allowed his Caronted HMG to just discover shoot, and then the Datarazi just walk in and then discover the Speculo.
Brutal.
He did push up pretty hard with both the Anathematic and the Caronted on my left flank. He had the Caronted sort of in the center somewhere on a raised platform, just kind of watching all of my stuff. Then the Anathematic was tucked in behind a building. I think it was out of camo. Yes, it was out of camo. But just essentially just like planting the flag in my half of the table. So I kind of was like, well, I've lost like 5 or 6 models. What do I do? I had my Sphinx was still in hidden deployment on the same flank that the Caronted and the Anathematic were on. Didn't really want to reveal it because the Anathematic hacker would just, total control it. So I decided I still had like 3 or 4 Tigers left. They were all relatively close to the Caronted. So what I did was I used my Impetuous and Irregular Orders to move and dodge into line of fire of the Caronted, and just basically took the shots that the Caronted was going to fire at me because he was like one dice on
16.
17.
Oh, 17.
17s because it's BS14, aren't they? I think BS14. One dice on 17s versus my one dice on 16s, and I just got lucky. The Tigers managed to pass the dodge, survive the shot, and walk into and basically being like line of fire of the Caronted. And then I just sent, I think it was 2 or 3 of my no, probably 2 of my Tigers into basically berserked the Caronted until
Oh,
it died.
yum.
Until it died. So
Well-
it had already lost a wound earlier in his first turn because he discover shot a camo marker that turned out to be my Caliban, and rather than trying to dodge, I just put a Pulsar template down, and he failed the armor save and lost 1 wound. And then I basically the other 2 Tigers just zerked into the Caronted until it died, which was good. I felt good about that. That was like a loss of I lost a fair bit, but I had killed his LT in a 70 something point model, so I was like, sweet. Okay, now I need to take care of the Anathematic. But I also needed to try to take the zone. Now, we'll talk really quickly about them. Gavin had a challenge for this mission, which was if you could dominate your opponent's deployment zone, you would get a prize. So in the back of my mind, I was like, I've probably lost this game. Maybe I should just go for dominating his deployment zone because I could do that quite easily with the Sphinx. Just like, move in a camel state and then reveal in his deployment zone and be like, hey, I get a prize, but no points. So I deliberated for a while because I had a hacker and I had an Echidron. I could have walked the Echidron over into zone of control off the Anathematic and then potentially hack Anathematic with a mentor, but it's really dicey because he's BTS 6, massive whip, has Trinity, and also it would take most of my orders because I only had like 4 or 5 left. But in the end, I thought, fuck it, I'll just go for the aggressive attack, and I revealed the Sphinx, moved up, got the Anathematic out of cover, and shot it with 1 volley. I crit and hit it 4 times, and he failed 2 armor saves, and the Anathematic went no one in cap. And I was like, oh, well, that wasn't expected.
Wow.
There was a little bit of a moment though where I moved the Sphinx into line of fire, and I thought it was outside of 8 inches. Rob wasn't sure. He gave me the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't inside of 8 inches, which was good because obviously I didn't want to get hacked. So then I recamouflaged and moved. So basically, after I shot it, he failed guts, moved into cover. I recamouflaged because it was outside of 8, and then basically moved another 6 inches, got outside of cover again, shot it again, and killed the Anathematic. By this point, I had like very few orders left, like 2 orders left. This is where I made my mistake. Very similar to what happened to Nick, is I moved the Sphinx with the intention of moving into a position where it could watch and kiss if it decided to try to stand up and launch pictures at me. but what I did is I ended up walking inside of repeater range of Kiss and promptly got double possessed.
Yep.
So you guys keep saying double possessed. It's like what's your tag?
Well,
What are your
not
tags
double, but
getting, like schizophrenia or something? Like what's going on?
Two different hackers,
Nah,
both
I get it.
possessed,
But,
and
I'm trying to make
I
a
just
joke about
failed all the saves. So
yeah.
So he basically, sorry, it wasn't double possessed actually, because Bit oblivioned me or tried to
Yeah.
oblivion me, but failed. And then the Umber Samaritan managed to possess me. And then what was cruel about that was I had deliberated for a little while about whether or not I'll walk into the DZ and just try and claim the moral victory, or will I walk into the zone and by that point I would have actually claimed more zones than he would have done, and I would have gone up 2 points. But because in so walking into the DC, I moved into repeater range, and then because I got possessed, that makes me a null state, and then I lost those 2 points. So that was really unfortunate. And basically the game then was pretty much a wash because he had my possessed Sphinx. He moved up. He pushed some buttons. He moved into my zones. My next turn was repossessing my Sphinx, but I didn't do anything with it because he possessed my Sphinx, moved my Sphinx out of the quadrant into his DZ, and then walked into CC with it with the Dadarazi. When I repossessed it, I couldn't do anything with it because I just get attacked. Yes, and basically the game ended there. I managed to push one button with a mentor, and managed to dominate his DZ with my Sphinx, but only because Rob let me do it. Essentially, because it was either dominate his DZ with my Sphinx or dominate one of his quadrants with my Sphinx. So he's like, I'm not letting you do that. You can have my DZ, and it ended 8-1. So it was a really fun game. I walked into that game um, uh, half cut. I'd been drinking a fair bit that day.
you
No.
could call it that. Yeah.
Not that that's an excuse. Like, I'm not saying
No.
that's why I lost, but I definitely meant that after the first turn, I took it a lot better than I might have done if I was sober. So,
Yeah.
so that was that. That was my third round.
No, that's awesome. Because I bought a slab at lunchtime. That's what I did at lunch. I went to the supermarket and bought a slab beer.
Yes,
So I think that's what I did. No, it's great that you played Rob. I'm glad somebody played Rob. He's a big fan of the show. Did you guys give him an autograph as well, or was it just me? No, just me. Okay, just me. That's fine.
I think I gave him a Lost Lieutenant patch. That was
I gave him an autograph, but he asked for it very politely after round one.
I'll tell you what I gave him. I gave him the
COVID. No,
sorry. I gave him the most views on his YouTube channel ever. So
nice. There you go. That's nice. So you just refreshed a lot? Were you just refreshing the page?
That's right. Or? Yeah. I just
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I just kept watching the tier list that we made. I just can't stop listening to the sound of my own voice.
It's just like before bed ritual. Okay, somebody keep me to a timer because it's getting late. I'm conscious you guys have families
now.
But basically, my round 3 was against Robert Wright. He was running White Company. He had a Howdow in a Haydow MC2 in a 5-man link.
You're a rock star. Sorry.
No, it's fine. He had a Haydow in a 5-man link team, and he had Kahu Bullbark. Fuck. So MSV won. So I hate MSV. Everything MSV. As Moritz, I use smoke for everything. But so he had those two, so I had to deal with them. Basically, the highlight of turn 1 was I pushed one button, my 2 zones, and used Cornac to kill his Haydow. In the process of doing that, he revealed his Gulang hacker, who then spotlit me, my Cornac. And with my last order of my turn, I tried to reset Cornac outside of his 8 inches because he had a missile bot. I failed. He and Cornac ended the turn spotlit. I'll also mention that this was big props to Rob. He was an awesome opponent. It was day 3. We were both. He was on a win or draw. I was on 2 wins. We're both obviously looking to do the best we can. In the first 10 20 minutes, we had to call the T over twice to get line of sight checks. Basically, that regardless of what the result of those checks were, having to call the T over twice in like 20 minutes sets kind of a mood to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it was a bit tense. But it was warranted because obviously he wanted to win, I wanted to win. Full respect for that. But that was interesting because it was one of those games that you both want to win, and it kind of having the TO come over so early in the game, especially twice, kind of does set a mood. So it was a very tense game. Around turn 2, he dealt with my Rasyat, and he took more zones than I had, so he took a lead, and I think he pushed 2 buttons as well. Turn 3, I was really up against it. And I did enough damage to him. I started doing some damage to him, took some zones from him, and did one of my objectives. So it was, and I pushed my Syriat HRL in his zone, into one of his zones. So I had 3 zones to his 1. So in his last turn, even though he was up 4-2 on victory points, he had to clear out that Syriat. On objective points, he had to clear out that Syriat, and he got crit in ARO and lost fullback Kahu. So then he threw a missile bot at the HRL, and I think he dodged prone and was out of sight, and the game ended 4-all. At the end of the game, we both shook hands, and it was an awesome game. And even though we had that bit of tension at the start of the game, that went away pretty quickly because we both realized, we're both fair players. We both play clean, and he plays very clean. We both play very clean, and we both wanted to win, but in a respectful manner. So yeah, no, I'd love to play him again, and get a result one way or another, because we ended up drawing 4-all. So that finished my day with 2 wins and a draw. So like I said, all my games were close. Like my first game I won 5-2, my second game I won 4-3, and this game I drew 4-all. So pretty good day 1, but very nail biting games, all very close.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
then,
that was all.
yeah, that was day 1 done and dusted. Then we all went to the pub together.
The pub.
To the pub.
Some of us went to the pub.
To the Belmore. There was the pub. The pub was absolutely packed. I was speaking to one of the staff so there was like maybe 50 of the 70 of us went to the pub, maybe even more. But they'd also already had 80 people booked in for dinner that night. So the food was not as quick as it could have been, but that's understandable, given how absolutely packed they were. But it was still, we basically dominated the outside area, and they had all the heaters on out there, so it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
In terms of cold, and we all had a great time. Val, you had a good few drinks.
I had a fair few drinks. So Lindsay, big shout out to Lindsay. Fucking love him. He was my enabler. Big shout. It was just awesome seeing so many people we haven't seen for ages. Daniel Henry from Queensland. I met David Fife, who's also a Morai player. I met the guys from Benedict from Brisbane. Just so many people you haven't seen for such a long time. Lots of new players as well. It was just, I was a bit of a social butterfly. I had a fucking good time. Had a really good time. Yeah, absolutely.
Same.
Yeah, and actually on that, new players as well. Like we had 2, 3 new players that were like going to their first 2-day event. Well, I think Jacob, well, at least their first interstate event anyway. I know Jacob. This was a second 2-day event.
Jacob, Stefan, Josh, and
we even
Danny.
brought
4.
Yeah,
Josh
we even
and
brought
Danny,
an Age of Sigma player. Yeah, so there was like an Age of Sigma player along with us. Yeah.
And Danny was having a great time. This was like basically his first. It was a second tournament, but his first 2-day event ever.
Yeah.
And he was having a great time.
Great time until round 5, but anyway, we'll get to that.
We were. I think some of us went and got pizza because the pub was too full. And
oh my god, I regret that so bad.
Yeah, we had a good time there, and I think in the end we ended up hanging out with guys from. It was out with Fest or Frank, and Arrow and James, and we hung out at their place. That was like an apartment above a pub, and we sat there and drank whiskey while Val caught up in some beauty sleep.
I fucking passed out. I was so far gone.
There's some absolutely mint photos of Val floating around, passed out on this couch. So
Yeah, fair enough.
getting
If you
his
want
beauty sleep.
The
Yeah.
poor man, all he was wanting to do, well, Val was just like, where's the nightclub? I'm like, mate, we're not in Brisbane anymore. We're in Maitland.
It's
We're in
true. I
Maitland.
just wanted to dance
I just wanted to dance. That's all I wanted to do. But we had other ideas. So
and
and then
secure HVT. That's all I wanted to do.
and then it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We did the we did the long walk back home.
Fuck
You
me, Kevin. $9 for a cab, you
Yeah,
prick.
so I went home
This
early
gets edited out, but
because
fuck you.
I'm Infinity's dad and was like amazed to have a weekend away without the kids. So I'm like, guys, this is all well and good, but I think I've had enough to drink. I'm gonna go home and lie in bed and have a full night's sleep.
Fuck.
So yeah, the taxi back to our Airbnb cost $9, but that was a one bridge too far for
For
old
three
Kevy
people
boy.
to fucking split a cab, so Kevin forced us to march like a fucking scout band
That's right.
all the way through the streets of Maitland, and it was like 3 degrees.
Three,
3 degrees.
Three
It
people
was
splitting a $9 taxi. That's just about how much it costs to join our Patreon. So
yeah. There you go. That's right.
patreon.com/Lost Lieutenant. Jump on there. If you would split a $9 taxi three ways, you've got no excuse not to follow us.
I'm not convinced there would be a taxi company open at 1:30 in the morning.
There was two taxis that went past us, you lying prick. I was so mad, but yeah, we got like somebody woke me up. They're like, "You want to stay here?" I'm like, "I don't know where I am." They're like, "Okay, well, I guess we're coming back with us." I'm like, "Okay." So we walked, and yeah, we got about like 1 a.m. and I woke up like 6, and it was just it was rough, 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 rough. No, it was good. No, it was great.
We cooked bacon and egg rolls for bacon and egg sandwiches for breakfast. You and I, Kev, which was nice. And then we charged straight on into to day 2 for.
Do you guys want to take a bumper, or should we?
Yeah,
just
we can
persevere?
take a quick break for a couple of minutes, and we'll come back.
Yeah, easy.
Okay, we've had a little bit of a refresher break on our end. You listeners probably didn't even notice, but we're back to talk about rounds 4 and 5. So round 4 was rescue, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes.
And like rescue was the mission that I was probably most dreading of the whole weekend. Of all my practice games, I had practiced rescue more than anything else. And of all the practice games that I played, I don't think I won rescue once. So I can't say I was too confident going in. I was playing your round 1 opponent, Kev, Josh Price from Melbourne as well, or from Victoria. I'd not met him before, so it was nice to be able to. Yeah, actually, all the 5 players I played all weekend, I've not played against any of them before. But yeah, our rescue was how rescue sort of typically tends to go for me whenever I play it. Is it's just low scoring. I had second turn. Went second every round at the tournament actually.
Oh, there you go. That's interesting stats.
And yeah, turns 1 and turns 2 were the two of us just headbutting each other. Basically, we'd throw something in, it'd kill a couple of things and then die. I'd throw something in, it'd kill a couple of things and then die. And no one really touched any civilians at all until turn 3. Josh's turn 3, he had like a castle, a Gulam linked castle. He was playing assassins. Had a pure 5-man link in a fairly defensive position in his deployment zone on a building. And then turn 3, he destroyed all my open shooting pieces. Marched up, grabbed a civilian with Layla Sharif, who then dropped out of the link. He left the link team halfway up the table as he moved Layla all the way back to his deployment zone. So then, like, the only real action that's sort of worth talking about is what happened in turn 3, because I then, again, the hero of the day, my drop troop Tiger Soldier, walks in from the side of the table. And so his classified objective was to civ-evac one of his own guys at the end of the game. So I walk in, come around a corner, kill the guy who's getting his classified. So that brings him down a point. I walk up to his HVT, which is in that same area, and I had the paramedic touch the HVT, so I did that. Then he's got Layla Sharif in his deployment zone. Walk around another corner, kill her. So he's not got a civilian anymore. And then I had to, so that I could stay out of line of fire. I spent my last 3 orders like to prone, move, and then touch the civilian and sync with it. So if I'd fluffed that final roll, I would have been out of orders, and I still would have won 1-0.
Yeah, for the
For
classified.
the classified.
Yeah.
But it was quite clutch, and I had 5 orders and kind of needed every single one of them to work, to pull it off. So, yeah, I ended up winning 2-0, I think 2-0.
Yeah, because one
Nice.
for the classified, one for the civilian.
Yeah, one
Fair
for
enough.
classified, one for a sync civilian. So that was my rescue, and I was
Fair enough.
I was so glad just to get it out of the way. To be honest.
Oh yeah, get it done.
Any takeaways about the table or the opponent? Or
Yeah,
anything
so
like that?
and like Josh didn't have line of fire markings on his bases, and I didn't notice it until I was going in to do that final play with the Tiger Soldier. So maybe I might have been a little bit of a cunt about it. I had a text her and I was like, "Do you want to draw him on?" Because I mean, the rule of the day is that if you don't have line of fire markings, then your opponent decides what your line of fire is. Did that actually impact any of the rolls or any of the encounters? No. Maybe there might have been one where he might have gotten an ARO. But the other guys, I basically just judged it off the way their face was pointing. So Layla Sharif, who was holding his civilian, that was the main face-to-face fight that happened. It was a face-to-face fight. If I had been an absolute dick about it, I would have said, no, she doesn't have line of fire. She's facing the wrong way. Because there's no markings. But that was face-to-face. And then at one point, he's like, oh, I think this guy might get an ARO. I'm like... And that's when I was like, okay, well, let's just not worry about that. Instead of me walking, I'll just go prone and spend 2 orders to get there.
Yeah, no, you did the right thing.
So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it did get pretty tense at the end when I'm like spending these like 1 order at a time to figure out where I can go and like avoiding his link team that was still sort of standing around that area. But yeah, it was still a fine enough game.
Nice.
All right. So, okay, round 4 for me. I was up against John Cook from Queensland. So we found out who the pairings were the night before, and I found out as I was sitting next to John at the pizzeria. I was like, John, you and I are playing, and the last time we'd played each other was HeroCon 2019 in Brisbane, where we also went into round 4 to play each other, but that time was can't remember the mission. I mean supplies, but he was playing Aleph at that time, and he smashed my face in with a really cheeky, over-infiltrated Dashu. But anyway, that was 2019. This is 2022, and he was running Ikari Company, and yeah, I was a bit nervous because I was like, he's a good player. John's a very, 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 very calm, very collected, very, very good player. But I had been thinking about like how am I gonna win this one, and like what are Ikari's strengths, what are their weaknesses, that sort of jazz. So I think I won the role. I went first again. I was running a Sphinx. I just wanted to try and hit him hard because Ikari has a few weaknesses. One of them being not great LTs, so very obvious LTs. And turn 1, yeah, basically I held back the Sphinx, held back the Speculo, and his reserve. His reserve is a hidden deploy model because I was like, all right, John, what's your reserve? And he was like, I've already placed it, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, wait a minute, what does a carry have that's got hidden deployment? Because I just hadn't played him in ages. He was like ninjas. And I'd already placed my Sphinx as a marker, not a model, because every time I went first with the Sphinx, I always placed it as a marker because I wanted to get the attack awareness order out of it to get the most amount of effect. So I've placed my attack awareness, or sorry, my marker down on my left flank, and then he's gone and said, "I've placed it now," and I've gone, "Well, he's probably placed his ninja on the same flank as my Sphinx,
Mm,
most likely, because it's most likely a hacker. That's why it's a reserve potentially. Um, so I was like, I'm not going to use the Sphinx this turn, and I decided to, and so basically my first turn was Speculo. Sorry, his list roughly was it was a core of bounty hunters, or it's a mixture of bounty hunters, a Wu Ming, and a Clipper. So it was like 2 bounty hunters with sniper rifles. He managed to get a +4 armor on one of them and a +2 armor on the other, so that was gross. And then he had a Harris that was a brawler, MSV2, brawler, obvious lieutenant, and a Drew's hacker. Now the idea is that he could make either one of those the core, just depending on where the bounty hunters were, because they're the wild cards. Also
very
had
cool.
yeah, it was a cool idea, like the being able to do both of them. And the way the table was set up as well meant that he could cover all 4 of his civilians with his 2 link teams. It was pretty rough for me because all 4 of his civilians were just really obvious, like really out in the open places. He had Fort Kickass on his side where he put the MSV2 brawler. Then the other buildings where he put the other 2 snipers who could just see like every approach possible to my to the civilians that I wanted to get. He also had Yojimbo, Desperado, a baggage bot, a couple other bits and pieces. I can't quite remember the rest of it. So basically, yeah, Specular went on a run turn 1, walked up a building, stabbed his LT, went up the ladder, stabbed his doctor, and then stabbed his MSV2 brawler. And then I think I moved up a couple of tigers. One of my tigers managed to berserk and luckily killed Yojimbo because I was really worried about that because Yojimbo was just going to make a mockery of me if I didn't kill it. Just luckily that he failed both armor saves on the double action. We killed each other, and then yeah, basically it was kind of like a case of I needed to kill all of his arrow pieces for me to have a chance at getting the civilians back to safety. So my turn 1 was like killing his stuff. There's also the lieutenant for his first turn, so it didn't really matter. Second turn was my Sphinx moving along the other flank because I was suspecting there was a hacker on the flank he was deployed on. I moved into position to try to take out his snipers because they're like +4 armor. It just wasn't going through. So I pulled all the way back because he had a couple of hackers, and I was worried about this ninja killer hacker or this ninja hacker that might have been hiding around. Pulled the Sphinx all the way back, got him back into camo. So it's just been very, very cagey with it because I just didn't want it to eventually get hacked. But essentially, it all came down to the third turn where I just ran the Sphinx up again, killed his 2 arrow pieces he had standing out, moved up, synced with one of the civilians, and then just ran as far back as I possibly could. Got the civilian back into my DZ, and that was me. He only had maybe 4 orders left. He tried to run with his ruse. I still had like 3 taggers that were covering my own civilians. So as he got closer, Tigers just dodged out, and then he was in a position where he either moves and hopes he tanks it, or moves dodges and he just doesn't have enough orders to get to sink the civilian. It ended in a 4-0 win to me. I managed to get 1 civilian back in my DZ. That's 3 points for DZ, 1 point for the civilian. Couldn't quite get my classified because it was like a hacking one, and it's just one of those things with the rescue. It's very difficult to get high score, I think, in that game unless you table
Yeah.
your opponent. But John played very well, just played very defensively with his link team, and made it as hard as possible for me to get get to the civilians. And it was a cracker of a game. There was some horrendous dice rolls from him as well. To be fair, like there was just some ridiculous rolls where he moved out in the last turn to reveal his baggage bot was actually a Lou Duan.
Oh, yum.
And all he needed to do was to sort of like bring himself up in points was to kill the Taiga and use the rest of those orders to move his Drew's hacker into. Oh, sorry, lost video there for a second. all I needed to do was kill the Taiga with the Luduan, and use the remaining orders to move the Drew's hacker up and sink my civilian, and that was it. He revealed the Luduan and rolled a 1, a 17, and a 19 for his Mark 12.
Fuck.
And my Taiga rolled a 1 to dodge, so nothing happened. It was just like 3 dozen 15s.
Fuck.
I rolled a 1 for my dodge. He was like, sweet, easy. And he just like rolls a 1, a 17, and a 19. He's like, ah.
Oh no.
And there was a few. There was a fair bit of that. I think even he tried to dodge my Taiga with his ninja, and anyway, it was one of those games, but it was a really, really cracker of a game. So well done to John for putting up such a good defense. Rolling a +4 armor for his
Yeah, that's
Bounty Hunter
beautiful.
was just gross. Like my Sphinx was
Yeah.
just like, I'm hitting you, but I can't kill you.
Can we
and that was
also
it.
shout out Tigers, because they've done work for you every single game, and like in
Oh
Geelong,
yeah.
they've been the bane of people's existence. Like we've got a saying in Geelong, floor is lava. Basically, if you're playing Combined Army, you just leave everybody on rooftops because that way you can't get berserked by tigers. Like so everyone's just like floor is lava, and like they've been decimating like the scene in Geelong. So, and it's good to hear that you're finally catching up to the Geelong scene with
Oh,
your
thanks.
user tigers.
Yeah. I mean, just for good measure, I put 5 in that list as
Fucking
well.
hell, yeah, they're brutal.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they've scored their fair few kills this tournament for sure.
no.
All right, and Val, round 4.
Yeah, round 4. So I got the pleasure of playing Hugh, our local, one of our local players from Melbourne. I've got all the love for Hugh, lots of time for Hugh, and he was also running Morats. So one of the things that I took away from the tournament is my lists are maybe a little bit too hipster, and it was a nice contrast to see when I faced Hugh exactly what my list was. So rescue,
Hugh is running the a bit more of a typical Morat list.
yeah, Hugh was running much more of a typical Morat list. He had a strong 5-man link with Cornac, Anyat, the MSV2 sniper with +1 burst, Kai Tok with a heavy rocket launcher, and a HMG Suryat. So 8 wounds in the link. BS ranging up as high as 16, or 15 with MSV2 and a burst 4 multi sniper. So really deadly link. So much more traditional kind of like list than what I've got. So I actually played rescue wrong. I thought you get points for getting a civilian back to your deployment zone or quadrant, or your dead zone. I didn't realize you still have to. So anyway, so I took first.
Sorry, you just broke up there. You didn't realize what?
Yeah, I didn't realize you had to still be synced with the HVT to score points.
Yeah.
Yeah, big mistake. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, it wouldn't have changed the game, but nonetheless, that's a learn for me. I went first. I had Cornac, Anyat, and my Rodok deploy 16 in.
Val, you should have listened to the Lost Lieutenant episode that we recorded about.
I did listen as well.
If you listen, you should have paid attention then.
That's right. I know. I was a little bit cross myself. But nonetheless, Cornac wrote my Rodok deployment and Anyat deployed forward, onto the 16-inch line. I used smoke to get one of my HVTs and got him back all the way to my deployment zone, linked up with Cornac, whilst the Rodok stayed on ARO duty, and I just shuffled around here and there. But basically, all I did turn 1 was just get points, get what I thought was points on the board, take momentum off Hugh, and get him to come forward and make sure he plays the scenario rather than killing. His turn 1, he's like, well, if that's the game you want to play, let's play. So he dropped in a Tar Yacht drop troop with Red Fury. So these guys aren't somebody I've ever used, but I was expecting a Rasyat, but instead he dropped this thing in.
Yep.
Yeah, because I had the Rasyat covered. I had all my edges covered, but this actually dropped in. He dropped in, killed my M drone, killed Anyat, killed my Rodok, shooting them all in the back like a coward. Went on suppression fire, and that was just group 2. Then group 1, he inserted his link, 5-man link, into my face. Basically, yeah, he just inserted into my face. He came right down the middle. I got really lucky with my Syriac critting his sniper in ARO, dropping him 4-man. But nonetheless, he still had enough to kill. He killed my Syriac, decimated my orders. Kordak was cowering behind a barrier, saying, "Please don't shoot me." And yeah, so he left his 4-man link standing, looking over the whole board, right in the middle of on the table. So my turn 2 was all or nothing. I had to shift that link or lose the game effectively. And I dropped in a Rasyat, shot Anyat in the back, even though she had 6 cents. But it was my best fight. She threw 2 smoke grenades, critting, and giving herself basically protection with the smoke. And so that was my big play that failed. So then my backup play was to have my Dadarazi kill Anya with some chain rifles, which it did, but it also died in return. But I got it back up, used smoke, dodged out of smoke to try and get a line on Kornak to berserk, but he dodged away because he knew what was coming. Then his turn 2, he did me more damage, basically crippling me. My third turn, I eventually killed Kornak. Initially, it was my Dadarazi berserking Kornak. That same Dadarazi just happened to live through his turn because it threw smoke on itself. It got a line on Kornak, berserk, hit him with a double action weapon, damage 17. He passed both saves on 18, the bastard, and he killed me in return to score his capture, to score his predator classified. That was just salt. It was like rubbing salt in the wounds. And then he also killed Kornak. Put him in lost lieutenant.
With what?
Rindak. His Rindak came up
The
my flank.
Rendak.
Yeah.
Is that the linkable one or the not linkable?
No, the multi-rifle one. So we've both been speaking a lot. Yeah.
Such a good profile, yeah.
Such a good profile. But yeah, so basically, turn 2, he just did me more damage. My turn 3, I put him lost lieutenant because I did kill Kornak, but not with the Dadarazi. I killed Kornak with a missile in the back of the head because he was facing the wrong way. I just shot him in the back with my last order. I thought I had 3 points on the board because my civilian was in my deployment zone, but he wasn't synced.
Yeah.
Yep. So then all Hugh had to do was grab a civilian or 2 and maybe do a class. And he just stopped my body. Got 2 for Predator, synced 2 civilians, and won 4-0. Well deserved, and well fought. So pretty bloody game. He played it really well, to be honest. I didn't expect the Diot. I didn't expect the link to go into the middle of the zone, middle of the table, turn 1. He obviously knew how the scenario worked, so he scored the points. So well done.
That does help.
It does help. It does help indeed. And obviously, Hugh's a fucking gentleman play. He's an absolute gentleman. So
yes, he's lovely. Yeah,
awesome.
The smiling assassin.
Yes, indeed.
He's polite to you the entire time while he's just like destroying you.
He's fucking pushing MSV2's burst 4 multi sniper rifles to your face. Yeah, it's great.
I'm pretty sure there was a point in the weekend. I think it was Hugh that said it, and I was walking past the table he was playing, and he was like, "Okay, so that's 8 saves on your," and I was like, "Oh fuck, oh no,
fucking hell, that's disgusting."
Yeah, double action with 4 burst 4 can really sting.
That'd be gross.
So that was round 4. We went for lunch. Getting ready for round 5, waiting with bated breath for who our round 5 opponents would be. But Nick?
Yeah, so I had round 5. I got matched up with Danny from Melbourne. So Danny's a pretty new player. When we matched up, Danny's like, "How the hell we matched up together?" Because he'd been going okay. He ended up coming 35th, so like right in the middle of the whole field, which is a great result considering it's his second event ever. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry about that. So we're playing Com Center from Season 10, RTS Season 10, and he was playing Steel Phalanx. He was running like a single combat group, Steel Phalanx army, with he had Hector and Achilles, and Phoenix in a little link, and then I think there was a second link in there doing something as well. And or maybe there was only one link, I can't remember.
Yeah, because Achilles can't be linked.
That's true, yeah. And there was a couple of like flash pulse bots and things like that. So he took the first turn. I played my sugar and spice list, so the 5-man link and the tag. And he just I deploy my link on one flank with some okay angles, and basically hide the tag. He marches Achilles up that same flank to engage the link, and walks out around a corner to see the Beast Hunter. Beast Hunter shoots his burst 2 Panzerfaust at him and crits against Achilles. He passed
Welcome to infinity,
yeah,
Danny.
He passed 2 of his armor saves, but failed 2 of them. And with Achilles with 3 wounds, he was pretty gun shy with him. And so he'd spent a few orders to get him up there, and then sort of repositioned him to make him a little bit difficult for me to deal with in my turn. And then spent the rest of his orders repositioning his link team with and going to try and push a couple of buttons straight up. He pushed one button, then moves along to push the next button. As his engineer moves to that button, my Hundun had a line that put him in a spot that had a line just down to that button. So as soon as he walks to touch it, hold up, I'm just going to give you an ARO here. He decided to dodge rather than push the button. And so I missed my shot anyway, but that was his last order of his first turn. And so it was after that, I had the tag and the link team in the same similar area. And so I used both of them to kind of take out Achilles, depending on where he would move, because he was dodging quite well and moving him around while he was on top of this building. So I moved the link team around to use the APHMG first, and then I used the Sphinx, not Sphinx, the Blue Wolf to come around a different corner and take him out with the AP Spitfire. So by the end of my first turn, Achilles was down. Then I marched up the board and just started killing other things as well. Took out Hector, took out his engineer, took out another a doctor that he had as well. So I kind of pretty much ridded him of specialists in my first turn, and then pulled back and it was like, okay, your second turn, go ahead. And so he spent his second turn just pushing more buttons with what he could, just to score a few points. And then it came into my second turn, and again I just pressed the advantage, pushed a few more buttons. He'd pushed 3 buttons, so then I just pushed 4, and achieved my classified objectives, one of which was coup de grace. So I walked someone up the ladder to the building that unconscious Achilles was on and finished him off, which felt nice. And then by the end of that turn, the only things that Danny had left on the table was Phoenix and his Myrmidon officer. So only 69 points left. So he ended up in retreat. So we didn't end up having a third turn because I'd already obliterated him. I spent the last 2 orders of my second. He'd knocked my Longyar unconscious. So more for the memes than anything else, I spent my last 2 orders moving my engineer up to recover it, so that I ended the game with 300 victory points, which I don't think I've ever done before. So that was that was 9, maybe 9-1, because I think he might have gotten one of his classifieds. The only reason it wasn't
just
10,
give it to him.
Yeah,
the one.
So the only reason I didn't get 10 was because my other classified was experimental drug, and none of my models went unconscious. So it was pretty one-sided, but we still had a good time and had a great laugh about it, and had a good few chats about like how terrain and cover works, and like how you figure the different angles and things when you're trying to get someone out of cover and that sort of thing.
Just the most condescending things you could.
No, it
after
wasn't.
Smashing.
It wasn't
I'm
condescending.
staring.
It wasn't, not at all.
Of course.
And it was good because so at one point Danny was What was I going to say? I forgot. I've completely blanked on what anecdote I
Yeah,
was
my
just about
bad.
to talk about. Thanks, Val.
No trouble.
But yeah, that was my my round 5. Oh, that's right. Danny had said that like coming into the event, he had expected every single game to go the way that our game went against him.
Ah,
Yeah,
And the fact that the only time that it did happen was when he played me, he was really happy with that.
yeah, right.
So
So yeah, it sounds like he for his first big event, he did pretty well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
that's good. That's good news. Like, it's always nice when new players have like good close games or at least have fun. We don't want new players to come to a big event and go and just get like ruffle stomped to the point where they're like, I don't like this game anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so my round 5 was against Rec from Tasmania. So one of the 3 Tassie players that came over. So this weekend I played a Victorian, a Queenslander, a South Australian, a Canberran, and a Tasmanian. So I was pretty happy. I got them all except for New South Wales. So he was playing Morats, and we were playing on this. I just want to talk really quickly about this table. If you can bring it up, Nicholas, on the chat. Um, this is actually probably when I first looked at this table, I was like, "Oh, this table looks like it's gonna hurt real bad."
I
Um,
don't even remember seeing that table.
it was next to my Brutal Cities table up the back.
Ah, that's right. Yep,
Um,
yep, yep.
yeah, and it's a Warsenal table, but it's got like a train up the middle. Type of thing, and then on the left flank, there's a whole bunch of like these kind of forests. And initially, we decided that we were going to play it at the buildings you couldn't get in. Then I lifted off the roofs, and someone's already put the effort of putting scatter inside them. So I was like, no, we're going to play the insides because this will just make the table play a lot nicer. Because otherwise, you've got these kind of solid blocks that you can either go around or go on the rooftops with the connecting walkways. So because we played internals, I think it really made the table play. I think how it was intended.
Yeah,
You
so
know, I
I actually played on this table back in April when I was in Maitland.
Okay. Right. What
Yeah.
did you think of it?
Um the the like the whole that whole flank with the bushes and trees and things, that was
Mhm.
difficult to deal with. Like in terms
Mm.
of how did you play the trees?
We just played them as solid.
Yeah, I think we did that as well in the end. Um, but
Yeah.
it's still like I don't know. I just feel like when you we're so used to looking at hard angles on tables. When you come to a table that's got these round pieces and trees and ferns and foliage and
Mhm.
stuff, it just
Mhm.
makes it that much. It just your brain's not ready for it.
Mm.
Is how I felt.
Yeah, I think it's kind of difficult to hide something in there, but I mean it's not difficult to get cover. I had initially wanted to play them as that you could see in, out, but not through. But then we sort of realized that it's really difficult to place
You're
them.
not actually going to go inside of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't really put a model in there because a model won't balance on them because the it's like thick and
Does it
it's
does
hard.
it mean it's really easy to flank somebody just down that side?
Which side?
Well, down the side of where the plants are and stuff. Do
Yeah,
you
so
just
if they were solid, then it makes it harder because you can't really go. You have to climb over it. So yeah, so in the end we made them solid, which I think was just probably the right call. Um, yeah. So anyway, was it? I think I won the roll again or something. Anyway, I like to go. I like to go first again. With this one. Because I sort of noticed that the right flank looked like it could be a decent way to push a to push a Sphinx up. Because he took the side that's furthest away from me, there was a nice little building there for a link team, which is exactly where he put his link team. He had a Surya HRL, Yaugat AMSV2, two Dartok hackers, and a Yaugat LT. I'm assuming it was his LT because it was like the basic Yaugat with the Panzerfaust. He also had an E drone, a Datarazzi, Echadrons, and then an Osnat Harris.
this is
He also
David Fife, isn't it?
no, this is Rick.
Rick, no, sorry. Okay, go on.
Yeah, yeah. So he had the Osnat Harris, so it was an Osnat with two Gakis, and then he also had a like Hugh. He also had a Taryot paramedic in reserve. So just to really quickly go through the game. I noted that the points that where I wanted to attack him most were his specialists, because Comm Center wanted to deny him the ability to push buttons. So because he had two Dartok hackers in that link team, I said like they're what's going to go down first. So my Speculo spent the whole first turn basically maneuvering, killing the first Dartok hacker, killing the second Dartok hacker before it did eventually go down to the Icadron. I think I'd killed both Dartoks and a Q drone and an Icadron on turn one with the Speculo before my Speculo died. And then that basically made his life hard, because the only specialist he had left on the table was an E drone, which he used very effectively. He pushed up, pushed a couple of buttons in his first turn.
But it's still a hacker, so you're still getting the hacker bonus at least.
Exactly, and it's 6/4 move, so it's a decent one. And I didn't have anything up for aero, right? Because my Sphinx list is essentially just Tigers, camouflage, and a Sphinx. So I didn't really care. I was happy for him to push those buttons, because my turn, with Comm Center, what I often do is you want to like go first. You want to try and push, like hit hard turn one. And turn two is push the three buttons closest to you, and then turn three is then to try to like consolidate your position and push more buttons. So my second turn was then pushing the three buttons. His second turn was pushing a couple more buttons to the point where we were kind of level. I think I had 3 to his 2, or maybe 3 to his 3. So then my third turn was basically the three guys that already used to push buttons, then moved up and pushed another. I think it was another 2 buttons. So I was on 5 to his 2, I think it was, because I think I'd flipped one of his buttons. And then it was all down to him. He didn't have much left though, because my Tigers had killed his Osnat, had killed his E drone. I think he still had the Yaugat and the MSV1 HRL on the building, but they weren't doing anything other than just kind of watching the buttons, which made my life harder, because I had to like cautious move, I had to recamouflage before I could push buttons again. So I basically used up all my orders just to push 5 buttons and do 2 of my classifieds. And so his Hail Mary on the end was to drop a Tariot into the objective closest to me on the left flank. That wasn't being watched, because I had lost a few pieces at this point to just basically using my hackers to go move, push button. If I die, I die, but I'm 2 dice on 16s or 17s, so I'll just push the button. Like I said, he only had the E drone. Once the E drone was dead, he had nothing left that was a specialist except for the Tariot, which dropped down. But he failed to drop with the Tariot. So he failed to drop the Tariot, so he was only able to push one more button, which then turned it to, I think it was a 5-3. He might have flipped one of my buttons, so it became like a 4-3. Either way, I still had more buttons. If he'd managed to land it with the Tariot, he would have put it down on the left flank closest to me, the button closest to me, pushed that button, which I already pushed, then moved up and pushed another button I'd already pushed, and it would have made him it would have put him in the lead on 4 buttons to my 3, and he would have won 6-5. In the end, it was 9-1 or 9-2 to me in the end. So yeah, it all came down to that roll. I think he needed because I killed the E drone. He was looking, initially looking for a 15, but without the E drone, he needed a 12. He rolled like a 7. He rolled like a 17 anyway. After the game, we discussed it that maybe he should have just walked on. But then when we sort of measured it out, because we were actually kind of short on time, so we just kind of measured out some of the time, the distances to see what he could have done. And when we measured it out, it would have taken him the same amount of orders to walk on from the side as if he just failed. So
gotcha.
But yeah, it's a super tight game, really really good though. I was pretty happy with how I performed in this final round. They just basically neutralizing his specialists and then pressuring him with the Sphinx. But god damn, that Yaugat sniper plus the MSV1 HRL
It's
just kind of
brutal,
especially like when my only gunfighter is a Sphinx, it was just pretty difficult, because it kind of removes a lot of what I'm good at, which is like the mimetism -6. But I was just like, this table was really fun. I just was able to play in the interiors. This is actually probably the most fun I had on any table of the weekend.
Nice.
So yeah, well played to Rick for making it like but clenchingly close in the final turn.
Yeah, sweet. I think that table just needs like a green mat under rather than that. I reckon it'd pop better.
Oh yeah, possibly, yeah. And actually, like, and it looks, I don't know if people might think it looks open or anything, but that train up the middle actually blocks a lot of line of fire from the building. So yeah, it was a really solid table, and kudos to anyone who built it. I like the Warsenal terrain on it. It's really good.
No, very nice. No, well done, well done. And so, what does that leave you on?
That leaves me on 3 majors, a minor, and a loss.
3 majors, a minor, and a loss. Okay, right,
Yeah.
nice. So 4 wins.
Yeah, four wins. Yeah.
Yes,
And
I was
what about you,
on
Nick?
4 wins as well. So two majors, 2 minors, and a loss.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, very close game. Right. So my last round was against Sval. I was playing Alistair. Another amazing opponent. This is where the clock came into play. So having that clock displayed. Basically, what we did
Do you want
is
me
we
to
deployed
display
pretty.
a clock for you right now, Val?
Yeah,
For this-
thanks,
for this-
mate. Yeah, cheers.
For this recap.
No, but basically, yeah. So basically, Alistair and me both took a little while deploying, right? So effectively, we had like an hour and 45 minutes before we had to start at top of turn 1. So we agreed, Mike, let's play turn 1. Basically split turn 1 down the middle, half an hour each. So we'll end like, aim to end turn 1 with like 50 minutes on the clock, and then we'll have 20 minutes and 10 minutes each. 20 minutes each for like turn 2. So
Okay,
15 minutes each for turn 2 and 10 minutes each for turn 1. And that just gave us some like guiding line, kind of, because we both knew we were behind on time. But it gave us like something to work towards, and that way it was even. It wasn't like it wasn't like he'd have more time, I'd have less time. It gave us just some guidance, and that really helped. So to get the game done, and we did. But basically, this game just fucking finally put the nail in the coffin for me in terms of the way I build my lists. He had Sval, so he had a Jodem, he had a 5-man Fusilier Link, and he had a fullback Kahu. Again, it meant I had to either fight a 5-man Link or play very slowly and passively, which I did. I played passively because my strongest attack piece is my strongest long range attack piece is a Seriat in a 5-man Link. He went first because I won the roll. He basically did me a lot of damage with the Jodem. He had a Jodem, that was his reserve, because as you do when you have Sval. He did me lots of damage. He did me some damage with his Jodem. Turn 1, he killed my Rindak. And he had a fight. He killed my Q drone. He killed something else. He nearly got Anyat. Then he pulled back all the way back to his deployment zone and put his Jodem in safety, or what he thought was safety. My turn 1, I set up for an attack run and an assassination run on his Jodem. I had Anyat and the Kyosot, as mentioned before, duoed. I had 9 orders. I used smoke. I cautious move. I used prone moves, and I got my Kyosot within 8 inches of his Jodem, out of cover, 3 dice, 16.
Ooh.
So the Jodem can die here if he fails 2 wounds. If he fails 2 armor saves, he needs 8 to save because it's a AP SMG T2, and he's got no cover. So he's armor 5 looking to beat 13s. So he needs 9s. He needs 8.
13 minus 5.
Oh fuck me, he needs 9. So yeah, sorry, he needs
It's not
9.
it doesn't matter what he needs. What did he get?
The point is, so basically, my Kyoso gets there. 3 shots and 16s. I roll 14, 17, and a 9.
Oh no.
And he doesn't roll because he just flames face. Kyoso dies after 8 orders of setup. He takes 2 wounds because he does fail his armor save. So there's silver lining there. My Anyat is there in the flank, so she steps up, shoots the Jodem with my last order of turn 1. K1 combi hitting on 12s. He flames just to try trade. I roll 13, 15, and 17.
Ooh.
And he kills Anyat. And I'm like, fuck me, that was my whole turn 1, and the Jotum's still on the table. He quickly tries to heal the Jotum. This is where the luck turns on for him. He spends 4 command tokens healing 1 wound.
Oh no.
So the luck turned. The luck turned. Both ways. He's turn 1. He's turn 2. He does some more damage and pushes up his fullback Ahu, who I think loses a fight against my 5-man Link and dies. He fought the Suryat, and the Suryat ignored his so it was like it was 4 13s versus 2 16s.
Oh yeah, okay.
16s because I'm a 5-man Link, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I got him, which was nice. I think I got him with like a 14, and he burned to death, which was very nice. Then my turn 2, I pushed the right flank with my Link team of Osnat, and pushed a button with my E-drone. His turn 3, he realized he didn't have many of the buttons left, so he pushed as many as he could and got 2 classifieds. So he had like 4 buttons and 2 classifieds. Then my turn 3, I basically pushed the Link up, killed his Jotum, who was on ARO. I killed him with Syria. I hit him with a heavy rocket and took him down. And then I used smoke to push two more buttons. So I was 3 buttons to his 4. And we had to kill 2 specialists each. And I had 2 orders left. My second last order was to move out and shoot his specialist with my heavy rocket launcher, Kaitok. I killed his specialist, and the Kaitok died to like his 5-man Fusilier Link, which I hadn't engaged. I just simply worked around it.
Alone, yeah.
And then finally, my last order was just push one of his buttons. I did, and it's I pushed another one of my buttons. So I tied up how many buttons we had. I secured HVT and I killed more specialists. So it was like 4-3 or something like that with the last sort of the game. So I won 4-3. It was just so tight. It was just incredible.
Oh god, all of your games are like you're struggling to get above 5.
Yeah,
struggling to get away from your opponent.
Exactly. Really, really tough games, all of them. Yeah, it was awesome. That's kind of what you want, to be honest. But at the same time, like having to play 3 or 4 games where I couldn't engage my enemies, like MSV2 or 5-man Link team, was pretty brutal. That was really hampering. So that'll be.
Yeah, well, maybe we've talked about 5 games. We'll quickly do. I want to quickly do a wrap up of just the event, and then just quickly talk about the winners, the faction, like the factions, anything interesting from there, and then just any kind of like lessons learned from your 5 games, what you liked about your list, what you didn't like about lists, and that sort of thing, just to kind of give our listeners a bit of a, obviously they've listened to us drone on now. Is there anything that maybe that that might be some useful insight at the end? So, so at the end of that, you ended up with how many wins, losses, draws?
3 wins, a draw, and a loss. So yep, pretty happy.
Yep. So at the end of that, I ended up coming 8th, 8th place. Was the highest ranked Victorian, followed by you, Nick. You were the second highest ranked Victorian.
I came 12th. Yep.
12th. And then Val, you came 17th. So
yes, and I think Luke came between us. So you guys were the top 3.
Yes.
You, Nick, and Luke.
Then Luke, who was running Starco, came in 15th. So,
yes.
Yeah. We the 4 of us came in the top 20. Sorry, and 5 of us actually, because Hector as well came 19th.
Yes.
He was actually top table at the end of day 1, but he ended up getting smashed by Rob and then lost. Sorry, Rob in the 5th round, and somebody else lost in round 4. Unfortunately,
yeah, he had a rough second day.
Yeah, he had a rough second day. Played some really good players, but I think in all, Victoria did really well. I think we all ended up about in the middle of the pack. So, like you say, like 35th upwards is where we sort of landed, which was really good. So I think out of all that, we were pretty happy. I think, as you said, Lachlan Summer came first with his Vanilla Combined, followed by Robert Cantrell, also running Vanilla Combined. Third was Tom Bowl with Shazvasti. Fourth was I can't remember his name, but his ITS is great. David, is that David Fife?
I think David Fife, 5th.
Yeah. running Morats, so it's top 4 players all running combined for their sectorals, and then in 5th place was finally a vanilla Nomads player. So, yeah, the top out of the top 10 we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combined army players, and then the rest of them were split up between vanilla Nomads, OSS, MO, who is run by Frank from New South Wales, and then we had Vanilla Hack and Spiral Core rounding at the top 10. So yeah, when half the top 10 is combined army, that just cements them as being S tier.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
really vindicates Nick and Rob's video, doesn't it?
It's pretty pretty crazy to not crazy. I guess it's, and we know they're good, but I think the mission lineup did favor Shazvasti and Vanilla combined.
Big
But
time. And that's
yeah.
that's my big takeaway, right? It's not that they're unbeatable, it's that when you've got missions like these, missions with so many exclusion zones, but you've got access to things that completely ignore exclusion zones, like your
Specular.
speculos, right? Those
Yeah.
types of advantages when it comes to this lineup really
Yeah.
really weigh in.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I mean, on that same thread, you'd wonder why there weren't more Vanilla Hack. But I mean, we still had a top 9th place was Vanilla Hack. There wasn't that many Vanilla Hacks. Like just looking at the faction sectorals, faction breakdown, we had 14 combined army, 11 NE2, which is really interesting.
That's awesome.
It's quite a lot of different NE2 armies. So that would be like what we got, like Dashat, Spiral, Starco, Ikari.
Yep.
White Company.
Yeah, White Company, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of GSA players, I guess, as well.
Yeah, there was JSA, of course. Yeah, actually, I got a JSA box. I can't wait. I might bust them out.
Yeah, and then we've got Pano with 10, so that's quite a lot more Pano than I was expecting. Kazan was 7, Aleph was 6, Nomads was 6, O12 was 6, Yujing was 5, and only 3 Ariadna, which I was actually kind of surprised by. Mostly because I've heard so many good things about Cosmo. Again, perhaps the mission lineup just didn't favor taking Ariadna.
And I think it does come, a few of the missions you get hacker bonuses, for example, and if you're chasing a hacker bonus, you don't play Ariadna.
Yeah, I think that seems fair, which is good because I was worried about running into bears and censor with my army, so I was glad that that never came up.
Yeah,
that could have been tough. Could have been tough. Yeah, so in the end, I think we've got some faction photos that we'll post up. Actually, do you have them in the chat? Can you chuck them up in the Discord or on the OB on for the YouTubers, please?
Yeah. Which one do you want to see?
The
faction average.
I think the faction average. Yeah.
Right, I brought that up. Where we've looking at the blue here is average tournament points, orange is average OP, so objective points, and then the line at the top is average VP.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit skewed because obviously it matters on how many players played each faction.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see here quite clearly combined army do come out on top.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you can surmise that just based on how the top 5 rankings, right?
That's right. Yeah.
All top 5 players are.
But yeah, I don't know how much overlap there would have been in combined army between the top 5, because obviously between Rob and between the 2 vanilla players there'd be some. Between the Shazvasti and Mora player, I don't think there'd be much overlap there.
You mean overlap?
In like the types of units. So obviously, yeah.
I know for a fact that Tom Bull ran a Sphinx in one of his lists, and so did I. Yeah, and we know that the combined army players winner ran an avatar. Rob didn't. He had the anathematic Chorontic combo in one list and a Raichu in the other. But I didn't face any tags in that 5 games, which was interesting because I was really concerned about running into lots of tags. Then again, I ran a tag for 4 of my 5 games, so what have I got?
Yeah, I had tags in both of my lists, and I only came up against one tag, which was the avatar, which did me in. So
okay. And then what about you, Val? What about you?
The Jodem, that fucking Jodem, which should have died. That bastard.
Yeah, right. It was an interesting breakdown. I mean, I mean, I'm not surprised by Combined Army, but it was quite a spread. Like the only army that I think wasn't represented was Toha.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
was.
most sectorals had. I mean, there was 6 Morats, which that just goes to show that they're a bit of a
But
new
they're
hotness.
new, they got the new box, and so it's
Yep.
not
Yeah,
hard to build a new army out of them right now.
and they're also very good as well. I think
Yeah.
there's
No, they're very good.
they're,
Absolutely, yeah.
they're no joke. Like Morats MO was 5, so again, it's a relatively new sectoral box.
And they're strong. Emma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Forces Vasti. Can you bring up that sectoral thing?
Yeah, I've got that up now.
You
Yep.
got that one up there, yeah. Forces Vasti, 4 vanilla hack, 3 vanilla combined, 3 vanilla Yujing, everything else is sort of 2-2-2, 2-2-2, 1-1-1-1-1.
But I
Good,
mean,
decent spread.
even the amount of ones that we've got here, it is like,
Mhm.
there's almost every faction has something except for Toha. I was the only
Yeah.
white banner player. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. There was a few White Company. So that's your next
That's
foray.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, three White Company. 2 Corregidor. Yeah, like nothing really here I'm seeing that's not included or looks particularly odd. I mean, yeah, I think just the number of Morats, MO 012 was
The lack of
3.
Ariadna's the big one.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
only
lack of
three.
Ariadna.
Only three. That's insane. With
Yeah.
Cosmo being pretty new, Hack being not too new, but relatively strong as well, and Vanilla Ariadna always been traditional. That's pretty surprising.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Definitely interesting. So what else? Just before we wrap up.
The
Um,
learns from your armies, I guess, is one of the things you want to cover.
yeah, Nick, did you want to have anything you want to sort of say overall about the event and your
I'd tell you
experience?
something that I learned after the event, and I'm like shocked myself that I didn't know this before, was that the Blue Wolf actually has uh, BS attack +1 burst. I thought it was just the Spitfire that was an extra burst, but it's all of his guns. Um, so
Wow.
maybe that's what did me in. I should have been throwing double Panzerfausts
Yeah, right.
around the place.
Yum yum.
No, like I mean, I'm glad that I took White Banner. I've had a really fun time playing them, and this is going to sort of cap them off for me for now.
Mm.
As I move on to finally start playing White Company, but it was absolutely fantastic. I had the most amazing time, and just like enjoyed every one of my games with each of my opponents, and just being able to meet and chat with everyone and speak to a few fans of the podcast as well was absolutely awesome. So
Damn.
Mm.
I was the
Yeah,
only
no.
one who signed an autograph, but that's fine. I can't wait for Rob to be so fucking angry that people are gonna think that I actually signed an autograph. Great.
What about I think lessons learned from me were that if in doubt, just run the Sphinx. Because I think I was very not nervous. I was very uncertain about my lists. I was like, oh no, I need to make a list that's going to do this mission, and I need to run 2 speculos, and I need to run this, and make sure I have some hidden deployment for doing comm center and all that stuff. And I was just like, I'll just run the Sphinx. If in doubt, if I don't, if I don't think my other list can do it, I'll just run a Sphinx. And looking at the lineup, it seemed like it was designed to be anti-Alpha Strike friendly. The fact that in the 4 games I won, I went first.
Mm,
Especially in missions that maybe didn't necessarily reward going first, like
mhm.
supplies and SQ, and I mean it's debatable whether or not you can say they're good for going first, but the fact that I went first and I felt comfortable in all 4 of those games, sort of says something about running tags. And although the Sphinx isn't like isn't your typical tag, it still does, it can still do the put on the heart. So I think
you see,
that's one thing
the
I
other
learned.
flip side of that is for me, I went second every single game as well.
Yeah, every game.
Every game.
Yeah, right.
So, but
Well,
maybe
the
that's
game I
just.
drew and lost, I went first.
Yeah, but I
Mm.
mean, I'm pretty comfortable going second. I think I almost always prefer to go second under almost all circumstances, because it allows, giving your opponent the first move allows them to open themselves up.
Mm.
And
Make the
then,
first
and then you
mistake.
can play into that.
And that's typically where I like to play with Shaz. I like to go second because my opponent makes a mistake and then I capitalize on it. But it was nice in this. It was interesting in this event where the times where I did lose the role, which was can't remember how many times it was. It's maybe half the time I lost the role, or maybe just it was the one time. But that one time I did lose the role, and my opponent, wanted sides. I was kind of like, I'm fine with this because I finally get to use my speculos how they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like typically in the past, I've always been a player that plays my speculos very defensively and uses them to eat my opponent. But this time, being able to just yeet them into something, kill 2, 3, 4 models, was really rewarding. So that was good. And then, as you said, Nick, um, being there and having people recognize your voice, it's be like, oh, are you from the podcast? I was like, yeah, it's me. You want a beer? And just being able to share beers with folk and during the day and just having a good old laugh was really really fun. So, um, uh, yeah, the overall lessons learned was just um to just have fun and go hard. it was
Yeah.
was
And like it was
was
funny,
fun.
I mentioned this on the day as well, but usually before a big event I'm like super nervous and can't even eat.
Mm,
Whereas this this event I was just chill. I was like, I'm just sort of I'd been um I think I'd been putting too much pressure on myself leading up to the event with all the practice games that I was having, and
same.
like I was sort of having this brain overload that about the missions and like
Mm.
because personally I'm not a big fan of them. I was not a big fan of the mission set because
Oh, me either. Me.
it's too big brain for me.
Yeah.
My little brain can't take it. It was funny when I called my wife when we were out for pizza on Sunday night after the event is over. I rang my wife and told her how I went and that I came 12th and had 4 wins and 1 loss. And she was over the moon. She was like super excited. She said, "That's great because I don't mean to sound mean, but you've been losing a lot of games lately."
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny because I was up till like 11 o'clock on the Friday night, still making a list, and then in the end, I was like, I'm too tired. I'll just take the same two lists that I took to the road to Novacore, and it did well for me. So, and like when I played Rob, I wasn't nervous at all because, like I said, I'd been drinking, but I think also I just kind of was like, whatever, and just have some fun, and it just kind of fed into that atmosphere of like, it is fun, it is going to be fun.
Hmm.
I just took the pressure off myself, and it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was a fantastic weekend.
What about you,
No,
Val?
very. Um, in terms of lists, basically, I like the way I build my lists because there's always lots of different things to do, but I got to get more aggressive. I got to play more aggressively, and I got to have things that can be more aggressive at longer ranges, so I don't get pinned down. Because getting pinned down in like 4 games, yeah, game one got pinned down, game two got pinned down, game
Mm.
three didn't get pinned down, but game four got pinned down, and game five got pinned down. It was just it was just like it just forced me to play really conservatively and just like not take risks until I absolutely had to, which I kind of enjoyed because I was really like, it was like you were kind of like right on that edge as far as tension goes, but it's also kind of like, it's you're always up
That's
against it.
interesting. Yeah, that is interesting that you say that because that's typically how a lot of time I play is kind of on the edge, like not with a super aggressive list or a list that can actually push hard.
Yeah,
I think maybe that would be like you say. It sounds like your kind of takeaway is that you maybe just need to start building lists that mold of like this is my thing that will clear the way, and then I have all these other pieces that can do the job,
yeah,
rather than relying on a BS13 HRL to do your work.
yes, exactly right, exactly right. So yeah, or too many tricks, not enough stick. And the other takeaway is obviously just a fucking awesome event, great people, great community, and can't wait to do it all again next big event next 2 days.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe Victoria will take home the Red K Cup because, as we forgot to mention as well, ACT were the winners of it 2019,
Mm.
but it is now in the hands of the New South Wales
Ah,
players this
yeah.
time. So they took home, and for our listeners who don't know what the Red K Cup is, it's the average. No, it's the
The
what is it again?
combination of the
The
top
right hand
three players
three.
from each state.
Yes, that's right. We came third, Victoria.
Did we come third
way
last
behind
time
the-
as well?
We might have come third last time too. Yeah.
What about it?
But we did a lot better than we did
First
last time.
First in fun.
We didn't win best sport, so we went first in fun. First in
I won best. Oh no, I didn't win best. I won
Like
second
runner-up.
Yeah, that's not.
Runner up in fun.
Move on.
Yeah.
Runner-up in
We're moving slowly along that that line from the first in fun to the hopefully first place, but that'll
Yes.
take a little bit more time. But yeah, it was like great showing. So really, really glad.
Yeah,
how
and just
how
props
well we did.
props to Gav and the other TOs
Yes,
for putting on an
thank
absolutely
you.
amazing event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those guys did a great job. I'm looking forward to it next year.
And yep, absolutely. And BCB, get on down. Come on down.
yeah.
We'll host you. We'll host you.
That's
Burn
right.
City
One thing
Brawl.
we didn't mention is that we've locked in dates for Burn City Brawl, which will be the next major 2-day event, I think, in Australia.
Yes, probably
Which is what is it? September
17th and 18th.
September 17 and 18. The mission lineup will be announced very soon.
I also just need to quickly give a shout out to Dan from Geelong. That way I can say I gave him a shout out and he listened to the whole episode. So that's fine.
Listen, wait till the end to hear his name.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think tickets are up for Burn City Brawl. It's going to be the same place as last year, or sorry, this year or earlier this year at the Masonic Centre in Collingwood, 17th to 18th of September. 5 rounds, $60 now if you get in before the end of June. $60 after that it goes up to 65. So early bird registration, get in now. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Well, I think we might leave it there, guys. My name's Nick.
My name's Kevin.
And my name is Val.
And you've been listening to Lost Lieutenant.
Good night.
Night. That's it?